Alright, hello everyone. This is Detroit Gamesters again. This is Shamir. This is our second podcast. Thanks for coming back. Hope you enjoyed our last show. We're still kind of getting the hang of this, but I gotta say, it was a pretty good time last time. Feel like we covered a lot of material, Arjun.
Yeah, I think so. If anyone can hear us, any extraterrestrials, SOS, I hope you're listening. But, no, I'm just fucking with you guys.
Alright, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. It's been just about 2 weeks since the last time we were here. We were kind of, at least I was thinking, there wouldn't be too much gaming news to talk about, and there's been quite a lot.
Yeah, honestly, there's just so much going on every day, something new, something crazy, and there's quite a bit to talk about.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Drake would say. Alright, so, we'll just get started with things. So I want to start off the beginning of the show talking about what we've kind of been doing the last 2 weeks, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, stuff like that. So I got to say, I've been really basic. I'm back to 12-year-old me, just sitting around at home all day, playing video games and whatnot, and just playing a lot of Modern Warfare. So it's really taking me back, I got to say. I've really been enjoying it.
I haven't played the game in a couple weeks, but it's always fun when I get back into it. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I really like the fact, one of the things I've really been enjoying about this Modern Warfare, and I don't know if they had this as much in the last one, but it has to be the different game modes that they kind of release out of nowhere. So they had this nice, 2v2 tournament mode. It's kind of what we first saw in a lot of the early, trailers showing off the game, and having actually played it now, I have to say it's pretty intense. The friend I was playing with wasn't the best at the game, I have to admit, so we didn't do that great. I'm sorry, I'm hoeing you out, but I just gotta say it out there. It wasn't my buddy over here, it was another one. And we did get to semifinals once.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I gotta say, I gotta give Activision credit. It's pretty refreshing that they're bringing in these new modes kind of seasonally, because it brings interest to these other modes that they wouldn't have had if it was there from the beginning or get-go. Yeah. So when they kind of bring up these new modes every so often, more people start to play them.
It's kind of what, I'm the Halo fanboy, but it's one of the things I really liked about Halo, just that creativity and the different type of game types past team deathmatch and domination.
Right.
It keeps things alive, and I gotta say, I haven't played a lot of 2v2 games before. I remember, I think it was Gears Ultimate, maybe? They had that 2v2 Nasher showdown?
Yeah.
No, not Wing. Do you remember 2v2 Nasher Execution?
Did they have something? Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
So that was pretty cool, but I gotta say, I like the Call of Duty tournament mode a lot.
Yeah,
and
really...
I don't know, I haven't seen anything like that in a different game.
It's very stress-inducing at times, but it was really fun.
You've tried the whole tournament, right?
Yeah,
the 5-minute wait, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but whatever.
Whatever, you gotta get it all set up. They even had a 3v3 mode, right?
Yeah, the 3v3 snipers. I mean, I have mixed feelings about that. I've never been the biggest fan of Call of Duty sniping. I don't know how you feel about Call of Duty.
Come on, man, it's so realistic, dude.
Okay, it feels badass when you
realistic.
quickscope someone with a sniper. Yeah, definitely realistic. Walking around with a fucking Barrett 50 caliber like it's 2 pounds and turning around with your 10 high sensitivity.
Yeah.
High sensitivity. Yeah, remember when our buddy used to that fucking
jump,
720 spin?
360, 720, blind scope, no scope, whatever the fuck scope.
Man, Call of Duty sniping is just something else. And then the ghillie suits and just hide it out, and then oh man.
Gotta say, there's a lot of scopes on the goddamn game.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of the snipers in Modern Warfare. They have the carbine, which is pretty good, I guess, but it's hard to use. I will give them that. The AX-50 is probably my favorite sniper. I don't know and you guys, what are your guys' favorite snipers? Or a better question, what is your favorite sniper in a video game?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, that's really good. Halo snipers, I like.
Halo sniper is my favorite.
Ooh, Gears snipers, I actually love the Gears sniper.
Over which Gears though?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to go with probably Gears 2 or Gears Ultimate. Those felt a little better. Gears Ultimate they adjusted the way that gun played, but Gears 2 is probably my favorite.
Gears sniping is so hard, man.
I love it.
It's so hard.
I love it.
I don't know how you get good at that.
Dude, it's like a Twitch thing,
It feels amazing, though. I feel out of every game, when you get a headshot on Gears, there's nothing that feels like that. It's almost as good as just mashing someone.
Right, exactly.
And that is an accomplishment.
Yeah, that is an accomplishment.
And I would say after that, I really enjoy Halo sniping.
Yeah, sniping was fun.
And then, I don't know what
God,
other game.
I mean, Call of Duty, I'm not going to lie. I do like sniping Call of Duty.
Maybe 3 for Call of Duty?
Yeah, maybe 3.
I always felt like Battlefield sniping was way too difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it is very realistic, but that sway and everything, it just kind of puts me out of the game when you're trying to really target and focus on someone. I just can't, I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I can't think of a really good other competitive shooting game with an amazing sniper.
Man, it's been a while since I played Resistance. That one wasn't bad. It's not up there for me, but yeah, there's not a whole lot,
Well, I guess. Oh, okay then.
Fortnite is whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah, let's not even get to Fortnite. We'll save our opinions on that. PUBG sniping was interesting. Yeah, PUBG it was hard.
It was hard. It was good.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been having a blast with Modern Warfare. It's been really good. I'm already at like 61 rank, I think, which you guys are probably laughing at. You guys are probably over 100, but whatever. I'm busy. I don't play that much, but
I just like the game because it's so arcadey and it's, like I said, very Twitch,
and
fast response kind of shooter.
And it's refreshing that, like, they went one route, they went all futuristic, and they brought it back to the basics, and they proved that the basics still work.
Yeah.
You don't have to go fucking crazy.
Exactly.
So that's mainly what I've been playing. I did watch a couple of new things these last 2 weeks. Me and Arjun actually just went to go see My Hero Academia, the movie.
That was pretty good.
It was interesting. I haven't watched too many anime movies in theaters. I feel like nowadays I've been watching more than I ever used to before. Maybe because, I don't know.
It's just, it's like all these streaming services. You can find anything on Netflix or like Crunchyroll or Funimation now. But, with all this hype getting generated with this movie, I was like, yeah, well, let's check it out, I didn't think anything could top Dragon Ball Super Broly, but this wasn't bad for an anime film. It wasn't the best, but...
I don't know, I guess I was disappointed by Dragon Ball Super Broly. Maybe an unpopular opinion.
But just the animation of that film, the way it was presented was really well. The story wasn't the best. It was very simple. It was a rehash of a story that they've already told 20 years prior.
So what was your favorite fight in Dragon Ball Super Broly?
Oh, I think it was honestly at the very beginning, Vegeta.
I was gonna say the same thing, dude.
That fight was sick as fuck.
Just the way Vegeta looks at him while he's powering up and just realizes, oh fuck, I gotta level up even more.
Yep, and he's like, oh man, this guy just keeps getting stronger and stronger. I mean, that was probably the best, highlight for me.
I don't know. I don't feel that same energy or tension or like love with Goku fights anymore.
Yeah.
Like when Goku was fighting him, I was just like, okay, well Goku is just like a masochist now, and he just loves fighting for the sake of fighting.
Right. And he's
gonna win.
He's gonna win every fight. He's gonna find a way somehow. I mean, in Broly they had to fuse, granted, but
I mean, even though surprisingly Goku hasn't been winning every fight, but still, you just have that feeling. You don't have that tension like the old Dragon Balls.
It's like One Punch Man when like Saitama shows up, it's fucking over.
Okay.
Like when Goku shows up, it's like fucking done.
But Goku would still whoop Saitama.
I don't know about that, bro. Dude, Superman can whoop Goku's ass. That's been proven already.
No, dude, that YouTube video is ridiculous. Listen. Beerus and Goku literally punched and shook the very fabric of the universe.
And destroyed some planets,
and that was when he was not even a true Super Saiyan God.
Here's the funny part. When they punched, that wave of energy destroyed a couple planets. Like, it literally showed that, and Goku didn't even give a fuck. He's like, oh, I probably just killed some innocent life forms. God knows what. And he wasn't even sad.
Dude, I wish fucking Goku showed up in Avengers Endgame.
Oh, dude, that would be so
fucking
sick.
Went to town on Thanos.
That would be sick. Marvel is publishing a new comic with Ultraman.
Really?
Yeah, really interesting. I haven't looked a whole lot into it, but it was like, for them to get involved with Ultraman, which is like a Japanese-owned, IP, it's that was pretty cool.
That could be interesting.
So if they can do Dragon Ball Z next, dude, Dragon Ball Z, X Marvel, Marvel.
Oh my gosh, dude, so many nerds across the nation would just explode in their pants.
Oh, dude, I already have.
Wouldn't be able to handle that.
Oh, I'll be back, because I gotta go clean myself up. I just exploded.
I thought you were being serious for a second. I wouldn't be surprised. Can you imagine a pair of shoes that were like Marvel X Dragon Ball Z?
Dude.
Oh man, a pair of Nikes.
Dude, I mean, Michael B. Jordan already had that cross Naruto Sasuke
That was
collection,
cool. That was cool.
And shit.
That YouTube video, I surprised you with that YouTube video.
Yeah, that was sick. I was surprised by that.
Man, nerds are everywhere, man. Anime lovers are everywhere. But yeah, going back to what we thought about My Hero Academia. So, I haven't watched too many anime movies that I really loved. I loved the Cowboy Bebop anime movie. That was like, oh my gosh. And the Dragon Ball Z anime movies are pretty good. This one, I feel like the problem that you have with with an anime movie is you can't have something too exciting happen in the movie if the TV show is still going on, or else you're gonna fuck up the TV show.
Yeah.
But you still have to make it worthwhile. And I feel like that was kind of the problem I had with this movie, where like they had some amazing ideas going on without giving away too many spoilers. Amazing villain, amazing fights, but it's like you have to like curtail it, you know? It's like it's a tease, you know? It's like give me more, you know? Like,
it's the crux of any kind of film. If you develop a film in the middle of an ongoing series, like I said, you just can't give away too much, or you have to sacrifice it being a filler type of movie, something that truly never happened and it was just a side story. And that's kind of what
we felt like this was a complete filler, but
it wasn't a complete filler, but it fell victim to that because at the end of that movie, and no spoilers here, but the major plot point was just a straight up like BS, like hey, whatever just happened here, forget it. It never really happened.
Yeah.
So it did fall victim to some of that.
I wish this was a whole season in the anime.
Oh, this would have been perfect as another arc, because this villain in this film was great. You know, he was scary.
His powers, dude. Yeah. Oh man, they're sick. You guys gotta do yourself a favor and watch this movie if you haven't already watched it.
It was great.
And I don't know. I guess it was kind of refreshing too, because you know, watching the anime, I feel like I really enjoyed My Hero a lot more in the beginning. Where you knew that like any time Deku used his power, he would have like an immediate negative consequence that would kind of make his situation shittier. So like every moment he had to think, okay, should I, use my arm? But if I use my arm, I'm going to be more damaged later in the fight. I really liked that tension, but I felt like the newer seasons didn't have that as much. And, this movie, it has more of that tension. It's well done in that regard.
Agree. Yeah, it did a lot for both Bakugo and Deku's character growth.
Dude, Bakugo was fucking funny.
And yeah, I think Bakugo was just great in this film. He was hilarious all around. He was true to his character, and at the same time, you could see the growth, the way they wrote his character. It was really well written. I'll give you that. It was really well written.
It was for Bakugo for sure. As a manga lover, are you happy?
Yeah, I would say I was satisfied because the way the story has been going, the way the manga has been continuing, I think it added some benefits to the storytelling overall. But I would say I was satisfied. I wouldn't say I was like happy, because like I said, it falls victim to some of these anime tropes. But overall I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Dragon Ball Super Broly, but...
Well, I mean, that's because, come on, we grew up on Dragon Ball. We never thought Broly was going to come back.
I agree. There's a bias there, because not only was it Broly, it was also Gogeta, but...
I was a little disappointed with Gogeta, but still seeing Gogeta, man.
Yeah, it was still, so it wasn't like that. It wasn't, you can't compare it to like that. There was no crazy, like, fusion power-up, but there was some stuff in here to be excited for. So, It's great overall. Go watch it, guys. I highly recommend it.
So that's about it with what I've been up to the last 2 weeks. What about you, Arjun?
Yeah, so in the last 2 weeks, I finally started playing Red Dead 2, or Red Dead Redemption 2. Finally got around to it. Finally opened it.
About fucking time.
Yeah, it's been in that case for a long time, in that packaging, so...
I bet you we lost half our listeners right now.
Oh, God. They're probably like, Jesus. Yeah, but Red Dead 2, I played about the first 5 hours. Really enjoyable so far. Man, that game is so cinematic, storytelling, and just in between, when you're playing a mission, it could take 5 to 10 minutes to get to the actual, like, part of a mission to trigger the main point or plot, and your characters, the NPCs will just be talking to each other, like it's a movie. And they even have a cinematic camera angle, so you don't have to move your character. It'll just move for you, and you'll see it in such a way that it's as if it's like a movie that's being filmed or watched.
Yeah.
It's
like
pretty crazy.
The way, like when you travel on horses together and they have it like a movie.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's very, very Quentin Tarantino-esque.
That's a good way of putting it.
You know?
It is. I definitely get those vibes.
Yeah,
Maybe everyone at Rockstar was watching a lot of Quentin.
Oh yeah, they definitely drew
Quentin
influence from
Tarantino
him.
before.
And
So
gameplay is solid. It's not the best. I feel very stiff when I try to run around or do something. You know, I feel like I don't know. It's just something weird about that the movement and the combat in the game. Now the gunplay is great. The ability to slow down time and then just mark enemies and then shoot them. That's great. But just the overall movement is something's off about that game, and I can't put my finger on it. I wish if I could just move a little faster or control the camera a little faster because I'm playing the game at I have my Xbox One X that I'm playing it on, and I have it set to 120 frames per second, 1440p, but it still feels really slow to me for some reason.
Is it? Does it feel like it's actually 120 frames per second?
No, it's probably capped at 30 FPS to be quite honest, but I have my Xbox One X set to 120, so it's probably capped at 30, maybe 60. I doubt it's 60 though.
I feel like the whole push towards the higher frame rate has been newer, right? And that's an older game, so I guess I can't harp them too much on that.
They had a 4K HDR update a couple months after the game was released, but the HDR update they didn't do anything for the game. It really wasn't optimized well, so it
still looks amazing.
Still looks great, and there are bugs in the game I've seen. I've seen some weird shit. Like I've seen once in a while I'll be running. All of a sudden, my main character's head will just spin his neck, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
God,
and I'm like,
"That would scare the shit out of me."
Yeah,
I just fucking turn off my game right there. Fucking throw my controller.
Right.
Get the hell away from
It's like this is Grudge or something. Yeah, no, yeah. So I've seen some bugs and stuff.
Have you seen the weirdest shit of all time in that game yet?
No.
The massive horse schlong.
Oh yeah, I have seen that.
You haven't played Red Dead if you haven't seen that horse schlong changing in the cold.
I'm not at that part yet, but I have seen that on YouTube. I've definitely seen those videos.
I couldn't believe that was the thing when I saw it on Reddit. Oh, the attention to detail. Can you imagine what was going on in that game studio when, the bosses are saying, we gotta be as realistic as possible.
Make that dick bigger.
And one of the developers was just like, I got it. I know what we need to do.
Yeah, imagine, right? If only that engineer or those engineers deserve a raise for sure for that big horse.
Well, they're making insane money over there. So
yes,
you can buy as many horses as you want.
I mean, shit, that game. I think they recently updated their sales figures. Take-Two, they sold over 30 million copies in a year.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
so it's crazy. And so yeah, I mean, apart from the story's great. The banter between the NPCs are great. Combat is alright, it's not the best, but it does remind me of Breath of the Wild. And the funny thing is...
That's a strong comparison.
It is. It really does. When you're on your horse, you're running through the open wild areas, and you're going from place to place. It just really reminds me of Breath of the Wild.
I guess I am probably of an unpopular opinion here. I didn't like Red Dead. I tried to like Red Dead.
Did you play Red Dead 2?
I meant to say Red Dead 2. I never played the original. But no, I didn't like Red Dead 2.
How far did you get into that game?
I got out of the snow. I got out of the snow.
The first 2-3 hours. Okay.
I got to the train.
Okay.
Train heist.
Okay.
I don't know if I finished the train heist. I think I just I'm in the middle of that.
Okay.
But I feel like when I was playing...
It's a slow burn so far.
I felt like, yeah, maybe that's it. But Breath of the Wild, it was immersive, but it felt like you had just a few small things you could do, and you were in this huge world where you use your few small things to interact in weird ways, and it just felt awesome, But when I was playing Red Dead 2, it almost felt like a chore at times. It does. Oh, I have to pick this up, load it on the back of this.
I agree.
Opening up all these cabinets. I understand that level of immersion, but that doesn't seem like fun immersion to me,
Yeah.
It's I think if you really sat down and devoted yourself to Red Dead and you really allowed yourself to just get encapsulated by it, that would be amazing because every little detail you can do.
Right, especially being a Western. You don't get those type of games all that often.
You don't get that fantasy.
But I agree, because to upgrade your satchel in the game, you literally have to go hunting, but it's not just normal hunting. You have to get perfect shots on animals to get perfect pelts, and it's so extraneous that it's just not even worth doing.
Yeah.
So stupid stuff like that.
And I guess the story was good. The characters were so good, at least from what I've experienced, even in the beginning, and the interactions all seemed so authentic. But, like, there was just something about that obstacle for the gameplay, the amount of energy I knew I had to put in. Maybe I'm just too lazy of a gamer.
No,
and I just didn't want to do it.
Way. I played the game for a couple hours, and I got to a point where I'm like, I couldn't do it anymore, and I had to put the controller down, and it's hard for me to get back into it. I'm going to force myself to beat this game, but that tells you something, okay? Like, I'm not completely enjoying my time, so...
Yeah.
There are pitfalls in this.
But that's the thing, and I feel like when it came out, it was just so universally applauded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people loved it, and, you know, I think if I played the whole game, I would probably be in that camp. I mean, I'm the guy who has never finished a Grand Theft Auto story mode.
I haven't either.
I just have too much fun just fucking around.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, I wasn't able to fuck around fast enough in this game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like, in Grand Theft Auto, you can literally start the game... you know, after the first couple missions, pick up some huggers, kill people, fly a helicopter into a building.
I had a friend whose name will not be said, but he used to always, Grand Theft Auto 4, in his living room, pick up a hooker, drive her into an alleyway, bang her,
Jesus.
kill the hooker and get her money back. Get his money back. And the most ridiculous thing, one time I'm over at his house, all of his cousins are over, we're all hanging out, playing Grand Theft Auto. He proceeds to do this. I'm just like, dude, what is wrong with you?
Jesus.
And he's like, bitches gotta know respect.
Respect on my name.
And I was like, dude, you're not a gangster. You're Pakistani.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. You know what's, I just gotta say one more thing about Red Dead. You know what actually made me get the game? You'll never believe this.
What is that?
South Park.
Really?
I watched an episode of South Park where everyone's talking about it online. IGN can't stop talking about it. You know, I'm seeing it on YouTube, and then I go watch South Park, and everyone in the friggin' show is playing Red Dead.
Really?
I was like, oh my god, if Stan Marsh is playing this, then I need to play it too. I literally am that basic, and I went and bought it.
Wow, that's hilarious. I didn't even realize they had an episode on it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that's kind of my quick thoughts on Red Dead. So, yeah, I mean, good game. I'm going to try to finish it, but that game is so long. It's like a 40 to 50-hour game, just mainline, so it's going to take a while. So, yeah, I guess the next thing I kind of want to talk about is I recently started watching Altered Carbon Season 1 because Season 2 just released, and I finally want to catch up to this and start watching it. And so I watched the first 2 episodes. And I gotta say, dude, it's pretty addicting. The first episode really hooked me, but the second episode, I was like in. I was down. I'm like, I need to watch this whole season, binge it now, but I couldn't because I had to go to work the next day. You know, so I was like, oh, dude, so good. My quick thoughts on it is the acting for the guy that plays Takashi Kovacs, really good, really well done. You know, he nails it. He sells that performance. And that world, I just love it. It's like a cyberpunk-esque, you know, setting, futuristic. It reminds me of a Blade Runner, you know. You got AI, you got drugs, you got all this cyberkinetic, you know, enhancements. You know, I just love that type of world. And so, yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens. I'm just afraid that, you know, this guy is going to die and just going to jump to a new body, which probably is what happens because I've already been spoiled by the fucking Season 2 with a poster of a different guy.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a different guy.
Yeah, so it already...
You just ruined the whole thing for me.
I'm sorry, but it was like when I saw it,
Listen,
I'm like...
I'm clearly too dumb to put 2 and 2 together. Why would you do it for me?
I'm sorry.
You're too smart for your own good.
I know, man. So, yeah, I just gotta say, I am already enjoying that show, so hopefully it ends on a banger.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm biased against Altered Carbon.
Okay, why is that?
Okay, so first off...
No spoilers.
First off,
No
I
spoilers.
wrote a novel that's it's in hell. It's in a hellhole right now. But apparently my novel's premise is a lot like a certain episode from Altered Carbon, and I never watched this episode of Altered Carbon, which drives me crazy. So anytime I pitch my novel to anyone, they're like, oh, it's like that episode of Altered Carbon. Like, screw you guys! I wrote my book first, even though Altered Carbon was based off a book that came before me, but I didn't read that.
Hey, did you publish your book yet? If
Oh,
you
shut
haven't,
up.
then you
I'm
haven't.
working on it.
Then
I'm
it don't
working on
matter.
it.
They came with it first.
Whatever, I have a copyright because it's written down. But no, even outside of that, I actually did try and get into the show. I watched the first episode or 2, and I don't know, I guess maybe I was just too overwhelmed by the sci-fi. it was just like a lot for me to take in, and it kind of just put me off. I don't know. Maybe I had seen a lot of like good sci-fi like TV shows and movies in the time.
Well, what could you compare it to? The first thing that came to my mind, honestly, was Blade Runner.
Yeah, I guess.
And even that anime. What was that anime movie that we just watched? That was a live action movie with Scarlett Johansson.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, kind of like that.
Yeah,
too.
I think I had seen Ghost in the Shell, and then I had seen this TV show, and I know Ghost in the Shell didn't get the best reviews, but I really liked that movie, and I liked it a lot more than the first 2 episodes of Altered Carbon. So
really?
I just couldn't get into Altered Carbon. I don't know, and like the beginning premise was kind of interesting, but really like kind of a lot too much going on, and I didn't really care for the white guy as much. So
I'll give you this, like for a guy that wakes up 250 years after he was supposedly killed, for him not to be as shocked as, he really was. Like,
there's like something off about it.
There's something off about that. It's like, whoa, like, okay, like, you would think this guy would be freaking out, even if he's from another planet, like, you've woken up 250 years later, and now you're just willing to help some guy. It's like, figure out his own murder. It's like, okay, this is something strange. So it's hard to believe some of that, so you gotta take a leap of faith.
And I guess that also made me think of, like, Cowboy Bebop. Like, you've never seen the anime.
No.
But there's a character, there's a girl in the anime who's, like, all over the covers and stuff, and you like, I mean, I feel like the show's old enough, so I should be able to give spoilers on it.
Sure. It's like, what, 10, 20 years old?
Yeah, like, if you haven't watched it by now,
get the fuck
like,
out.
you aren't gonna watch it.
GTFO.
No need to be an ass. But no, like, she seems like she's a part of, the digital age, because it's in the future, and it's like this cool, like, funky, like, time. And then you find out she's actually frozen, and she lived, like, hundreds of years ago, and like, she woke up and she acclimated to her surroundings. And it was just, like, really well done. Where, like, you have to imagine she has so many, like, identity crises and all these things. But it's never, like, in your face that, like, oh, because this girl has, like, amnesia or an identity crisis, this is why, she acts the way she does. You just kind of put 2 and 2 together. And it was, like, an interesting twist. Because I guess in that case it's the opposite of Altered Carbon, right? Where, like, in Altered Carbon, he's waking up 250 years later, but in Cowboy Bebop, it's like, you see her in that future time, and then later you find out, she was frozen.
So it's slightly different.
So.
I mean, they try to explain it in the first episode or 2, where I guess they're called, like, the envoys or whatever, where the Hispanic chick is talking about how they can adapt to the customs and cultures relatively quickly from any planet. So maybe that was their explanation of saying, oh yeah, he just got used to the life once he came back because he's not scared. He's trained. He's like well trained to blend in with society. So maybe that was their. But it was like a quick like write off. So I didn't really like that either.
Before you even brought up Altered Carbon, I was actually thinking about giving it a second shot. I think I was just burned by bad sci-fi.
I think so, yeah.
Like, Valerian came out around that time, too.
Around that time, so.
And I think the Total Recall came out, and, like, that was alright, but it was just like, okay, this is a lot of not the best sci-fi. And I didn't think the new Blade Runner was the best.
I didn't either.
There was some amazing aspects of it, but overall it was like, eh.
Right. Yeah, I would give it another shot. I'm enjoying it so far, though, so I'm definitely going to finish it. It's got me hooked, I'll say that.
Okay, cool. So, anything else you want to bring up?
No, that's it.
Alright, so a couple of topics. There's been a lot of news that's happened in the last couple of weeks. So, there's 2 semi-big topics that I wanted to bring up and talk about. First one, the one I'm most excited for, and shame on me for not being this excited for so long, but now I'm hyped. Half-Life Alyx.
Woo, what's happening?
I don't even know how to feel about it, because it's like that hot girl who has teased you your whole life, and now she's old, and like she's still hot, and she's giving you a shot, but you're just like, I don't know how to feel about this, because it's like, is this what I had dreamed about all these years? What I had fantasized about? It's not going to be what I fantasized about, but it's still you. This is what I wanted.
Is this truly Half-Life 3?
Because, Valve does this shit. Like when Half-Life 2 came out, I don't know why, but they decided to do, let's do episode 1, right? And then out of nowhere, they're like, oh no, we're actually going to do episode 2. Oh, guess what? Episode 1 and episode 2 are actually a big chunk of story. And, like, I mean, if they had done an episode 3, that would have basically been Half-Life 3. So I think Valve has this tendency of like releasing a game and like we might not think it's a sequel, it might not be a big deal, and then it actually might end up being a huge deal.
Oh, just like how they never released Portal 3, Left 4 Dead 3, Half-Life Episode 3. How many? They must hate the number 3.
They hate the number 3. They really do. And I think this is on a new engine, isn't it?
This is, I think, their first game released on Source 2, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is the first game released on that engine, which they've had for a while, though. So it's pretty crazy that no other game has been released on that engine.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they've been doing. I don't know what Valve's been up to, but I mean, they're making money.
Making card games.
They're making money.
And they're printing money for sure, but they're also making card games, okay?
The first question I want to ask is, why now? Valve has been sitting on this possibility for so long. Why now?
The tech, I haven't read into it too much. They believe that if they were going to create another Half-Life game, they said it had to be in VR. I don't know the reasonings behind that, but...
All along? They said that from the beginning?
They didn't say it from the beginning, they just stated that now. And if that was truly the case, well, then the tech really wasn't there for some time. So, they probably were tinkering with so many ideas for the last decade. You gotta think.
I think, I don't know what... maybe this is just me buying into rumors and speculation, but I remember years ago people were talking about Half-Life is going open world, it's going to be a huge deal, and people were so excited. And I think what I had kind of come to a conclusion was Valve has been waiting on Half-Life because they're letting the hype build up, and then maybe they're like, oh fuck, the hype is too built up. If we do the next Half-Life, it has to be somewhat revolutionary, right? Like, Half-Life 1 was amazing when it came out, That, I didn't play a ton of games, like, when I was really, really young, but I fucking played that on a PC with my sister. Scary as shit. Still fun as hell. Half-Life 2 just cranked that up to the next level. But I think sometimes with video games, when you're doing them a certain way, you crank it up to a certain level. What's the next level? How are you going to crank it up even more when you've almost, like, perfected the formula? And I think Valve was waiting to find something revolutionary, find something different, not just, they knew there was a reason for Half-Life 3 to exist from a story perspective, but they needed a gameplay perspective for it to exist, and maybe they didn't buy into the whole open world, let's revolutionize our game by doing that, like God of War. Maybe they wanted to do something even more revolutionary.
I mean, if you're going to go that route, you essentially just create a huge sandbox, and there's not a whole lot to do, and then it becomes very boring and bland. That's what a lot of these games
I think it could have worked with Half-Life, but, I mean, Half-Life was structured in such a way that, like, even though it was an open box, it felt like it was like an open box, like the way the levels were set up, like, you never played it, but like, I don't know how the hell you never played this, but there was this level, I think it was in Half-Life 1, and you, like, go to this, like, city that's, like, burning, and there's these head crabs everywhere, and you're just, like, trying to make your way through the city, and even though it's linear, the way it's set up, you just feel like when you found the right linear path to go on, you're like, thank God I found the way out. You never realize that you're being led down a corridor. Amazing game design. Reminds me of, like, how good Bloodborne does it. And I feel like because of that, if Half-Life 3 had just been released, like, 4 years ago, and they had just done open world, it would have been amazing. It would have gotten, like, 9.5s. It would have probably been revolutionary in some regard. But, I don't know. I think Valve, maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I think they wanted to be even more revolutionary.
The question is, how does Half-Life Alyx now fit into the story? Is it a precursor to the games? Is it after the events of Half-Life 2?
It's not. There's no way it's after the events of... I mean, it could be. It could be after the events of Half-Life 2. Without giving too many spoilers, because you haven't... Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. I have to think that if it's something set after the events, if this is what they really feel like their Half-Life 3 was going to be like, are they just going to create sequels that are all in VR? Or are they ever going to make a true Half-Life sequel?
I don't know, man.
Like a standard, like, give me it on my fucking console, PC, like, I just want to play with the fucking controller, no fuck bullshit VR.
I saw the gameplay, and the gameplay was actually way better than I expected. When I first heard about this game, I was like, fuck Valve. Why are they doing this to me? Why can't they just give me a Half-Life 3? Why do I have to do VR? But when I saw the gameplay, like... First, I wasn't a fan of the teleporting, which I feel like every YouTube commenter has already said, but then I realized that you can turn off that teleporting if you want, and I think we agreed that in some of the gameplay, the teleporting was cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool.
It was useful.
Jumping from cover to cover, teleporting quickly when you got a ton of fire on your head and you're like, oh, I just got to get around, maneuver quickly, because in a VR game, it's really hard to maneuver, turn around, and, the high-paced action.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, like, the only VR... I mean, I played a couple of VR games. I played Robo Recall. That's the best one I played on the Oculus at my friend's house. And that was dope. That was really, really dope. But I feel like the problem with VR games is, we have this amazing gameplay mechanic, but there's no purpose for this game. It's just like fucking grab some guns, shoot some people, or do something cool, and there's no real purpose for the game.
It's like every VR game is only about the experience. They never tried to, like, actually make a game.
Yeah.
Like, never a game. And this is probably one of the first real games on VR.
I know, like, PlayStation tried to do some bigger budget stuff, but, I mean, how big was it? There was, like, that Mars type shooter.
And again, it wasn't... Again, it played well, controls were fine. The only other game I can think of that was big budget, like AAA, was Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, but then that came out with the normal version, too. So
that did, but so they gave you two options. So it was like... there's no true exclusive, like, So again, I think the fact that Valve is putting this out, it's going to be revolutionary, quotes, because...
And you know what? It makes sense in the world of Half-Life for VR, which it might not make sense in other games, because, I haven't, like, looked into all the interviews and stuff that have been done, but just basing off the gameplay, you have these gloves, and you're just, like, zapping and just grabbing things. And in the original game, you had a gravity gun, so it seems very much in that line of technology.
Right.
It just fit in well. And I think when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is not super entertaining. He's just, like, moving a little piece of wood or, like, grabbing something. But I was like, wait, actually, this would be really cool if how immersive is it if, like, you stick your hand through, like, two wooden planks and then you turn it sideways like you're a gangster and then you shoot some head crabs. What?
Yeah, or how we just saw how you opened a toilet cover, and then you take out that little syringe and then you inject yourself with God knows what. But stuff like that, it's just kind of cool, to think about that.
So, I don't know, I'm hyped for Half-Life, and I was not hyped for it before. I was disappointed in myself because it was one of the games I used to look forward to the most when I was younger, and I don't know if it'll make me buy VR. I don't know.
I think I'm interested in the game. I haven't played the ones previously. I think I will wait until if they announce a console version for PSVR, because I'll then just wait for the next generation.
If that happen, Sony is gonna have a huge plus on Microsoft.
Yeah. So I'm going to wait. Plus, it's so hard to find these VR headsets now. Everyone's been buying them.
And the thing is, like, the key thing with exclusives is the exclusive has to be really good, something that's the hype train is going crazy about, but it's for something you can afford. You can go out and buy a Switch. You can go out and buy an Xbox if you can't afford an Xbox One X or a PS4. But going out and buying something that's powerful enough to run this.
Right.
I mean, the PC elitists are gonna jump on it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, those VR sets are like $800 to $900. So
yeah.
It's already a lot. It's a big investment. So
I think they might be a little cheaper now, but they're so expensive.
Yeah, it's so expensive. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna wait.
But I mean, this is such an opportune time for it to come out because I thought VR was dying. I really was afraid that it would die in like 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Sony's PSVR is like the second best-selling VR headset, and it's only sold like maybe over 5 million units, so it's not that much.
5 million is actually more than I expected, but I guess like I remember like at every CES back in the day, people like couldn't stop talking about VR, and we were so excited for the Oculus, and we were so excited for, like, oh, now it's Oculus without having to connect to your computer, but then like the software wasn't there, and that was a disappointment. The games weren't there. Like I got the little Oculus, I don't think it was Oculus, but the Samsung Gear that you could use with your
Samsung phone.
Your Samsung phone, and like that was cool, at the time. There was but like even then, like I thought like there's like a tipping point with this type of technology, and like I still felt like it wasn't good enough and it was going to go downhill. And I think Half-Life is going to come out in a perfect time for this, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep the VR train going. I don't know. Yeah,
it's only going to do so much. So there's the initial hype, and then it'll die down, and then.
But I promise you, if they make multiple Half-Life.
Yeah, if they can do sequels.
If they did a sequel, I would buy it. If they did Half-Life Alyx with a promise of another Half-Life coming.
Yeah, then I'd be down for it.
Dude, oh man.
Yeah, it'd be something cool.
Or Portal, dude. Portal is gonna have to be VR.
Perfect.
That would be the perfect. Although I feel like they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because people would die.
Yeah, you'd be going through a portal thinking that you're like having a seizure. Yeah, like, I don't know about that one.
You're still going.
Jesus.
Oh
god.
Oh, we're terrible. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it'll score well. I think it at least an 8.8. I'll probably peg it like a 9.3. I think that's...
Yeah, I can see it somewhere between that range.
Because Valve knows how to make Half-Life games. And even if it's like, when I first saw God of War, I was a little doubtful that it was going to be amazing. And then it came out and I was like, why did I ever doubt Sony Santa Monica?
Right.
I think this is going to be how Half-Life is.
Yeah, we'll see how it performs.
So, that's the first game I wanted to talk about. Second thing I really wanted to talk about, Pokemon Sword and Shield and this new Pokemon Zarude.
Damn. So why don't you tell everyone what this new Pokemon is about?
Yeah, so it's one of the new mythical Pokemon. It hasn't really been explained exactly what capacity this Pokemon is going to be in like the Pokemon Sword and Shield, but his Pokemon typing is Dark Grass, which is interesting. I don't think there's a Dark Grass Pokemon.
Yeah, not that I can think of offhand. There could be maybe like one or two, but there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, I love the character design. He looks friggin' dope.
He looks dope. And it's funny because the Pokemon Company, as soon as they revealed this new mythical Pokemon, hours later revealed a new trailer for the new Pokemon movie coming out this summer called Pokemon Coco. So it's about a little kid that's basically like Tarzan, and he's raised by this new mythical Pokemon. So it's pretty interesting because it's like an ape-like, animal. So, really interesting. They're kind of introducing it with the introduction of him being in the new movie.
But, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but, like, when I used to think of the legendary designs for Pokemons, like, they just seem so, like, epic, and, like, he doesn't seem, like, super legendary looking.
So, here's the thing. Can you really consider a mythical legendary? I mean, it's a classification.
What is a mythical Pokemon?
I mean, that's a classification they just started coming out with a couple of generations ago. It wasn't there from the beginning. So I feel like they found this mid-tier between a legendary and a normal Pokemon, where like we wanted to come out with something that's not so epic, but that we can keep releasing on
rare enough.
Yeah, it's rare enough that we can release frequently for updates for a game.
I guess in that niche it makes sense, but I mean, I really love the design of this.
Design looks great.
The things he has going on in his wrist is really cool.
He looks like very menacing, and at the same time, like you got a typing that they've been introducing a ton of dark type Pokemon, but I'm glad they made this dual type.
I don't know about dark grass though. Because it's a cool type. It's never been done. Yeah. But think about how many weaknesses it's going to have. Like, grass already has so many things that are super effective against it. And now, dark is a good type, but, like, everyone has crunch.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to think about it this way. The type of Pokemon it is, it's probably going to be fast on speed and probably attack. Yeah. It'll probably have low defense.
So I think it'll be a glass cannon, but I think I take that back. I do kind of agree with you that it might be an interesting dual type because we don't have a lot of, like, fast, sweeping grass Pokemon, right?
They're all slow, hulking, very few, or most of them that you end up finding are bug types that end up being fast, but they're not that pure grass type, so.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But I was excited for that. And, a couple of other things with Pokemon Sword and Shield. I mean, it's still going, apparently. There's still exciting stuff going on in that game world. So I haven't even caught the Galar Slowpoke yet. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I have with the new expansion coming out. They introduced this Galarian Slowpoke that you can capture right now. And it'll have a new Galarian evolution when the expansion first releases in June. So pretty interesting stuff. And the fact that I think they've already introduced some of the new starters as well from Gen 1.
Yeah, so that's what I was the most excited about. Just going around the wild area, and you can actually, even though they're not in the Pokédex, but you can get a Venusaur, you can get a Blastoise.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
And have you seen their Mega?
Oh,
their Gigantamax?
Yeah, I have. I like, actually, Venusaurs. I really don't like Blastoises. It looks very simple, kind of like Charizard's. It's just like polka dots on its body with a cannon, which they've
Multiple cannons.
Yeah, which they've already done for its Mega Evolution. So I feel like it's like virtually the
But
same
I
thing.
whatever special type attack it'll have, it'll be a cool animation. This is like the
for
dumbest thing to bring up, but it'll be a cool, all
Yeah,
those
for
turrets
sure.
firing like a battleship.
Yeah, that I agree with. It'll be pretty cool.
Dude, the new Venusaur looks emo as shit to me.
Dude, I love it. I love it. It's like the
Or
long
he's gonna
hair.
do
Yeah,
some head banging.
Yeah, I love it though. I love its design. So.
You know, out of the 3 starters, which one did you like the most?
Just for their Gigantamax?
Or just in general?
Oh, I mean, honestly, Blastoise has always been my favorite. I just love, Hydro Pump. That's been my favorite move of all time. Like,
really?
as a water move, yeah. And then Surf, you can't go wrong with Surf,
Yeah.
2 great water moves.
I guess, like, you're going for the dependable, you know, like, Blastoise is always there for you.
Yeah, it was always there for me,
Yeah, I've been a Charizard guy, and, like, I don't know, there's just something super cool about the dry, like, I remember when I was a little kid, and I was watching a TV show, and, like, Charmander almost died, and then, you have Charizard who won't listen to Ash, and I was like, oh my god, Charizard won't listen to Ash, he's gonna listen to me in the video games!
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And I don't know, I just thought he was super cool, and then I started, like, looking into a bunch of YouTube videos on competitive Pokemon, and I never realized but apparently Charizard is terrible in the competitive scene.
Wow.
Because of Stealth Rocks, it takes away half his health, and everyone likes Venusaur.
Wow.
I was like, what? Venusaur?
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
But anyways, going back to Sword and Shield, yeah, it's pretty exciting. You can go catch those Pokemon, and you can also fight Mewtwo.
Nice.
Mewtwo is complete ownage. Oh my god.
Is this in a new raid? Or?
Yeah, it's like a raid battle, and he's level 100, and he's just, I could not beat him. And I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with, like, how I'm trying to find people, and maybe I've been just too lazy to YouTube why it's not working, but I can never find people for my max raid battles.
Yeah, I've had the same issue too since the game's launched. Like, I can never find anyone, and after a couple minutes, I get so, like, angry. I'm just like, here, I'm going to do it by myself, or I'm going to try to invite a few friends, because it's almost impossible to do it with strangers or randos.
Yeah, and, like, that kind of ruined the max raid battles for me, because I end up getting paired with these terrible AIs. They're just so bad. Like, why is there always an Eevee? Like, I don't need Helping Hand. Get out of here, Eevee.
Come on, man. Eevee is the best Pokemon
And
there
then
is.
we have a friggin' Mewtwo, and everyone is bringing Pokemon as weak. I was fighting toxicity. I can't even say that.
The new Gigantamax one?
Yeah, electric Pokemon. Everyone brought water Pokemon. Idiots.
The AI, you mean, yeah.
Yeah, the AI, I should say. But, and I think even from what I've been watching in YouTube videos, even with a solid team, he's a hard friggin' person to take down.
Yeah, not surprised.
I wish you could capture him.
Oh, I would love it if they could do that, but yeah, that's why I'm really shocked, because all the other Gigantamax forms they've released in the past 2 months, you can catch.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did this as a special event is kind of odd, but...
Teasing us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So how do you feel about Pokemon Sword and Shield going forward? I know we've talked about this before. We had some mixed feelings about the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was overall disappointed with the base game. Just so short. The story was non-existent. It was horrible, to be quite honest, and you could just run through, and there wasn't a true, Champions League. So, I think I'm excited for the expansion because the fact that you're gonna be able to catch an extra 200 additional Pokemon. So that's great, but at a certain point, you get fed up with just grinding over and over again. And the fact that this game has so many glitches and exploits now to level up your Pokemon,
That's a little game breaking.
Yeah, it's very game breaking, and it takes out the fun of grinding. That used to be the best part about Pokemon, was just grinding your Pokemon to get to level 100, and now that there's no point of doing that either.
Yeah, I think I have mixed feelings, because there is this certain, like, just the satisfaction you get from, like, grinding the shit out of your starter and just owning everyone with it that you don't get in this game, because you can easily just capture Pokemon in the wild area that are the same level as those Pokemon you've been, like, raising ever since it was, like, nothing. But it's also nice because then it allows you to try out different teams and, actually get your Pokemon to level 100, which I wasn't able to do before. So I guess I like those things, and I'm actually pretty excited for these expansion passes coming up. I think some of the new, like, legendaries that are coming out are going to be cool. I think, like, the new Articuno and Moltres and Zapdos.
Yeah, they have some sweet designs for the some of the OG legendaries and the new Reggie forms that they're introducing. But I think overall, the problem is they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because the fact that they introduced the wild made the game very unbalanced. You can catch all these Pokemon very early in the game, which broke the game in a sense, like you said, because you don't have to level as much anymore. and it took out a lot of the balance. It's just so.
It doesn't feel as tough.
It doesn't feel
but
as
it's
tough.
still fun. I still have had a great time.
I still wish there was a difficulty to this game, and they just need to be more innovative.
Yeah.
They really do. If this game, the way the franchise is going, can no longer be this cookie cutter 8 gyms in a league, and the stuff they did with Sun and Moon didn't help either. They really just need to either make this fully open world and just let you go about it in any way, kind of like Breath of the Wild. Again,
I think they should still have gyms. I really
no,
love
they
the
can have gyms, but maybe make it open world to the point where you can go to any section of the game at the very beginning, just like they did with Breath of the Wild. You could literally go to the final boss at the very beginning of the game. They need to open it up so you can just explore on your own.
I don't know, man. I feel like maybe I'm too much of a Pokemon purist, but you can do that, but I still want my old school, like...
That's fine. You
like
can have
8
the
gyms and Elite Four.
You can have that, but don't make it so that I have to go in a specific order. It's very cookie cutter. And it gets to a point where when you do that, you then have to set up the game in such a linear fashion that prevents me from saying, hey, I can't level or catch Pokemon past a certain threshold until I get a certain badge. Like, it just really breaks the game.
I guess maybe it's just nostalgia, but I've really liked that. But I think I kind of get where you're coming from, where, like, they had that old school version, they try to mix it up with the wild area, but it's like, they kind of were going more towards what you wanted with the open world, but not enough, so it felt weird for you.
It was a half and half, like, in between.
I guess
measure.
I guess I was okay with it because I love traditional Pokemon. Like, I just want it to be like that. And the wild area, like, mixed it up enough for me. There were things I'd like, things I didn't like. So I was just like, I'm fine with this. I think the expansion passes look dope. And I think what I'm most surprised about is in between the expansion pass and in between, like, the base game, they've actually been able to release some stuff that's made me interested,
Right.
I don't know how much more they can do to, like, make me come back and actually pick up my Switch, but yeah, I came back to fight Mewtwo, so.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I think they're going to update this game probably once a month or something, at least with these raid battles, so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Alright, so that's about it for the things I want to talk about. What about you, Arjun?
So the first thing I wanted to talk about, pretty major, is today's March 4th, and if we had our way, we'd be playing Final Fantasy VII right now. The original release date was March 3rd.
Really?
But instead, Square decided to drop the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, which gives us about a 40-minute section of the first chapter you can kind of play and get the feel of the game, the combat, some of that story that they've been showing off. It's the same demo they showed off last year, I think at E3 around that time. But the cool thing was they also apparently gave a lot of YouTube influencers the chance to play Chapter 1, 2, and even part of Chapter 7. And that embargo lifted about a day or two ago, so people have their impressions out online right now. And from what I'm hearing is the game ramps up considerably in combat and in difficulty. So if you've already played the demo, you probably realize you're getting like a ton of potions where you can heal yourself really easily. And the combat is really not simple, but it's very action-oriented, kind of like Final Fantasy 15. But people are saying that towards the later portions of the game, like Chapter 7, it gets very difficult and it becomes very strategy-oriented. So I'm actually happy to hear that. So it's not going to be just cookie-cutter, mashing, your combat buttons and whatnot. You have to really pay attention to everyone on the field. Because you could be in a battle with Barrett where you have enemies attacking you from above and enemies on the ground, and you have to kind of make sure you're matching yourself in such a fighting style where you're paying attention to everyone so your characters don't die. So I found that very interesting based on some of the impressions that I've heard. So,
okay.
I'd say check out the demo. It's about 7 gigs. I mean, the whole thing was data mined 2 months ago, so everything's already been leaked.
Of course, because data miners are always present.
Right. And the other thing that I've heard, I still haven't played the demo myself, but based on the impressions I've heard the music, the soundtrack, the OST is great. So I'm definitely going to give that a try probably the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm actually downloading it right now. I wish I had known it had come out earlier, and then I would have played it right away. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think I'm gonna have a ton of fun with it. But maybe I'm just too excited for Half-Life.
Yeah, that's. Definitely...
I'm like 95% like super hyped for this, but then there's like a 5% of me who's like, man, we've been waiting so long for this,
yeah.
and it's been so many decades. is this gonna hold over? Like, is this still gonna be as good now as it was back then?
I don't think it will be.
Has times changed enough that like the impact that this game had back then, like it's just not gonna have that impact now because like we've seen so many other like sick RPGs. I don't know. I think I'm still gonna really, really enjoy the gameplay and the characters, but it's like a lot of these characters are held up to such high reveration, and like I've tried to play Final Fantasy VII, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know. Like people hold up like Cloud and Tifa to like these like like
insane
celestial
standards,
levels, like Aerith, and I'm just like whoa. But I really love Crisis Core, so.
Crisis Core was a great game. That was probably my first Final Fantasy game I beat ever.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah. For a long time, I used to tell everyone that was my favorite JRPG. So.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm gonna try it out. I am excited. We'll see. Hopefully, it's just one of those things where it's like so good that you can't believe it's true.
Right. So go check it out, guys. It's available now. So. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, which I think is really interesting and kind of odd, and it might say something or not, I don't know, but Control, which was produced and developed by Remedy, is now available on PlayStation Now, but it's not available on Game Pass, Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass streaming service.
Yeah, I fucked that up. I thought, even before Phil Spencer said anything, I thought for sure that would be on Game Pass.
Well, you were close. You were very close.
That's the perfect Game Pass type of game.
It is. And why is it? I mean, we heard about a couple things a couple months ago where Microsoft, maybe by accident, Phil Spencer said on a podcast that he was happy that, Control was coming to Game Pass. And then the head of Remedy said, hey, we never announced any plans about that. We're not doing anything right now. There's nothing to announce. And then 2 to 3 months later, it's all of a sudden on PS Now.
But, we talked about this a little bit earlier, too. And I guess I didn't mention this now, but Phil Spencer, like, he's a trustworthy guy.
He really is.
Like, he has really brought around, like, the respect in the name of, like, Microsoft and Xbox in general. He's been giving gamers what they want, even though Microsoft still needs to pick up some more steam. But, he's good on Twitter. So it would seem very odd to me for him to misspeak that badly.
Right, it's
very
very
For him to, like, fuck that up that hard and say something that was 100% sure not going to happen.
Right. It's very odd.
So, like, that tells me that, like, they must have had some discussions.
Exactly.
There's no way there was no discussion between Phil Spencer and Remedy about Control on Game Pass. And I don't know if those, like, conversations were already getting bad. I don't know if, like, Phil Spencer thought, like, things were better than they were. I personally believe that, like, after Remedy saw this, Remedy was pissed off. They're like, screw you guys, and then they went the Sony route. But, like, what I don't understand is, what would Remedy have against Xbox? What has Xbox ever done bad to Remedy?
The way I look at it is, yes, this could have hurt your sales if you were initially telling a ton of people that, hey, it's coming to the streaming service that we're literally offering for a majority of times for $1 for a month. So that could have definitely hurt sales, very detrimental, but you would not want it not to come out because you want as many people to experience the game as possible.
True.
So what changed in the last 2 to 3 months to the point where they said, hey, we're only going to release on PS Now? And the only thing that comes to my mind is maybe those rumors about Sony acquiring Remedy as a first-party studio is maybe true.
No, you're too much of a speculator. Get your speculating ass out of here.
I love speculation.
Get your speculating ass out of here. Listen, it goes back to my original point. What does Remedy have against Xbox? There is no reason for Remedy to hate Xbox.
You're answering your own question, Shamir. They have nothing against Microsoft. So if they were acquired, though, by Sony, they would then no longer want to put their product out on a Microsoft's competitive...
But it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you've worked with someone for so long, you have a good relationship. Alan Wake was great. Remedy wanted to do a DLC for Alan Wake. And, like, if Microsoft wanted to be a dick, they'd be like, no, you have to make Alan Wake 2. But they were fine with that, right?
Well, why don't you ask Bungie how well that worked for them?
Ah, the low blow. Okay, but also, what ended up happening to Bungie?
Well... Okay, I'll give you some credit for that.
And plus, like, Halo versus Alan Wake, like, I really do think that Microsoft... I don't know how their dealings were with Bungie in depth, but I can see Microsoft wanting to continually milk Halo, that pissing off Bungie. Bungie wanting to do Destiny. Bungie's like, screw you, I'm out of here, deuce bitches. But, like, with Remedy, like Microsoft has let them do whatever they wanted. Alan Wake DLC. Then they did Quantum Break, which is like such a weird idea, right? And it was like Quantum Break
to have
like,
some show
yeah.
with the game that was like cross-referencing
and like
events.
Quantum Break didn't work in the general like grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it didn't
critically
probably
and
sell well
commercially, but that wasn't Microsoft's fault. That's because Microsoft was like, "Hey, Remedy, you can do whatever you want." Remedy like did whatever they wanted, and they went a little bit too far. People weren't down for that movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But like regardless of that, like it kind of seems like after that, Remedy was all pissy, and then they're like, "Oh, Microsoft, you guys suck." I mean, I understand that Microsoft was doing pretty terrible sales wise, so you want to jump over to Sony, which is like the better competitor, and then Control came out. Control was announced first with PS4, and then later we realized it's coming to Xbox. This is really making me think of Insomniac showing off Sunset Overdrive, and everyone's just like, "What the hell, Insomniac?" I kind of always pegged Remedy as Microsoft's Insomniac games.
Yeah, I could see that. There's those comparisons, like they could make somewhat AA games, a lot of AAA games, but on just enough of a budget where, their games are very niche, so it doesn't hit the broad spectrum of their audience. But they were very comparable. These two studios are very comparable.
And if you're gonna get bought out by anyone, why don't you get bought out by the devil you know? Why are you gonna go to the person like Sony? Like what?
Well, again, it depends.
Sony?
It depends on who came to who first, right? So
I
don't know. I think this is all gonna get revealed when the PS5 has that full blowout, and then Sony says, "Hey, we purchased a couple more studios."
That
or
would
a
be
studio.
such a slap in the face. I would be so like. As an Xbox fan, I would be heartbroken. But, like, someone who loves the wars, the console wars, that would be so hype.
That would be hype. And then to find out what their next exclusive would be crazy. If they teased it at that event, that would be awesome.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. But, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, the next thing I wanted to talk about is an interesting one. Something that's been on the minds of everyone around the world is basically the effects of the coronavirus on the gaming industry, and just a quick couple examples that I wanted to bring up, which I found interesting. And as Sony pulled out recently out of PAX conference, or the PAX gaming conference recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, and then they pulled out of GDC, and then a lot of other people and companies have followed suit, like Facebook, Oculus, Ubisoft. And now it's getting to a point where companies worldwide don't want any international travel. And, with these gaming events, you got people coming from Japan, Europe, to the U.S., and they don't want to risk, any kind of issues with health for their workers. So I just find it kind of interesting because there's a lot of, I would say, YouTubers online and people in general saying, hey, this is all happening because Sony pulled out first, and because of them, now no one wants to come to these game conferences. That's not true.
Not true.
It's not true at all. The company that I work for has literally limited travel.
Google canceled their I/O event, which I know it's not gaming, but I'm really into smartphones and stuff. That's a huge event they canceled.
Right.
I
mean, and it got to the point where Sony, yes, they first pulled out of GDC, the Gaming Developers Conference. But it got to a point where everyone was pulling out, so now the people hosting GDC said they're canceling the actual event, and they're going to host it later in the summer.
Wow.
This is a first for them.
Wow.
So it's always held in March every year. It's been like that for years. So the fact that they're postponing it, it means a lot. It means they understand this is an actual concern going around worldwide, and they want to try their best to still at least hold this event sometime in the future and during this year. So the concerns are real. And that kind of brings me to my next point, which I just read an article.
Don't say it, Arjun.
Don't
say it.
I just
You're wishing to existence.
So, well, we'll see. We'll see what you think of what I'm talking about. But apparently, the ESA still wants E3 plans to continue after the city of Los Angeles declares a state of emergency over the coronavirus. And I just want to read this really quickly. The ESA said the health and safety of our attendees, exhibitors, partners, and staff is our top priority. While the ESA continues to plan for a safe and successful E3 show between June 9th and June 11th, we are monitoring and evaluating the situation daily. So I can understand why they're saying this, because there's still so many unknown factors E3 is held in June. We don't know what's going to happen between now and then. There's still 3 months from now, so it could be fine by June, and everyone's all right and they want to start traveling again. But it's also very funny because everyone's been talking about the death of E3, a lot of media outlets and people online. So I just find it funny because they already had the E3 is such a big moneymaker for the ESA. They already had Sony pull out twice now. This is their second time pulling out of E3, and if they have to cancel E3, they are literally screwed for this year. For them to get to that point where they're saying, no, we're going to continue with all our partners, and now then to maybe possibly cancel their event, that would be a huge blow to the ESA. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
All right, couple of things. First off, from an epidemiology perspective, Corona is only going to get worse. Like, Corona is spreading like the flu. It has similar mortality to the flu. And now we're starting to see Corona cases popping up around the world and spreading from people who didn't just go to Wuhan. So it's gonna get worse. Is it gonna blow up and do this like huge fucking epidemic and kill millions and billions of people? No. But I think that we're gonna be hearing about Corona for at least 3 to 6 more months. They're not gonna come up with a vaccine for this for at least. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like November when they came up with the vaccine. So with that in mind, things are only going to get worse. And California is getting hit really bad. There is so many cases in California right now. It's scary. So, and like if it was another part of the country, I guess it would be better. Maybe they could pull it off. But like with where California is, I guess it like incentivizes people from Asia to come too because like it's easier to fly in. I can definitely see E3 being canceled. With an event that big,
in
with
Los
that
Angeles
many people
too?
In Los Angeles, even outside of this whole state of emergency thing, with Corona just blowing up and getting bigger and bigger, it's like trying to predict where a fucking hurricane is gonna land.
Right.
And you're fucking living in Florida.
Right.
You don't know what's gonna happen, but you see the trajectory coming right at your fucking house.
And we had the same experience last year trying to go to Florida with that hurricane.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do at the very end. They canceled our flight without us even knowing.
Flight, right?
So.
And that's what they do because they have so much money invested into these things. They cannot lose it.
Yeah, you can't take a risk.
You can't plan for E3. Like, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of money if you don't do E3. But how much more money are you going to do if you book the place, you have everyone come, and then, like, a month before, you have to cancel, or 2 weeks. And you're like, by law, you are forced to cancel, you know?
So this leads me into another question. Some interesting stuff that we found out in the past 2 weeks was Phil Spencer and Microsoft gave us a huge bombshell about more information on the Xbox Series X. And then that led many to question why Sony's been so quiet on PS5 news still. Do you think Corona has somehow postponed Sony's plans to possibly reveal the PS5 in any way?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think Sony lately has just been, like, becoming this, like, I want to show you in the last possible moment. I know, like, they've been, like, building up hype for, like, these games that they have for, like, 2 years. All their exclusives that they have going on. But, like, I remember when they, like, talked about God of War, and then God of War came out, like, right after. I don't think Sony wants to announce things super early. I think they know that Microsoft is coming for their ass. Like, does that necessarily mean that Sony is super scared Microsoft is going to overtake them? No. I think Sony understands its dominant position in the market. But it also knows that it has to be careful. That, like, because it was being careful and smart last generation, at the reveal at E3, it decimated Xbox, right? And it knows it needs to do something like that again. So I think from the get-go, Sony was always planning on letting Microsoft go first. And kind of announcing things slowly, announcing things late, Sony and Microsoft has money to blow. They can do a freaking London game show. They can do this and that, just go crazy announcing this and that. Like, Sony doesn't need to do that. At the same time, as things get worse, I would start to get worried about the PS5 supply chain. I know we had kind of talked about this in the last podcast we had, but like this time around, I'm actually getting concerned because I wouldn't be surprised if like whole industries start like shutting down.
So here's the funny thing: stocks are down month over month. This is the craziest it's been because there's so many companies that rely on Foxconn and so many other companies from China. and basically no one's really working anymore there in those factories, so nothing's getting produced. So everyone's had to forecast the amount of money they're going to be making this year, and it's getting bad. Stocks have plummeted again, to a new low. That's what people are saying. So I think the coronavirus has had an impact on the way Sony was going to reveal PS5, and this is why I think that. The first time they revealed the PS4 was an event in New York where they flew out a ton of gaming journalists.
That's February, right?
It was February of 2013. Granted, they don't have to do the same thing again. They could wait till April, May, or June even. However, the problem is the fact that this is becoming so much more widespread, and the fact that they've now came out of PAX and GDC and no longer attending those two. I think they're having to rethink that, hey, we were going to have a live event again, maybe in March or April, but now we can't fly people for a while. So maybe they're going to do another drop with Wired, maybe another article, just kind of how Microsoft did with their blog post, and say, hey, here's a couple new features to get excited about, and this is why we're kind of silent. And then they might end up waiting till June to actually host an event this time, just around E3. And it would be hilarious if E3 was canceled and then Microsoft and Sony end up holding their own press conferences in June, and then ESA just getting screwed. So I think Corona has had an impact on the way they reveal their information, and I think that's why they've been so silent. And they're just trying to figure out now whether they do another Wired article or maybe they do a state of play and make a digital event to just reveal some more.
I can see them do that, but maybe it's impacted their timeline a little, but I think Sony is being a careful watchdog this time around. And you know what? I think this brings up an even more concerning issue. Is Corona going to delay the release of these consoles?
That's a very good possibility, man.
And I personally think Microsoft is not fucking around. No matter what happens, Halo Infinite is coming out, and Xbox Series X is coming out. They have too much riding on this.
But think about it from this perspective. We already know the game's not exclusive, so you could still release Halo Infinite. Their whole fan base could still play the game, and Series X could still be delayed a couple months.
I mean, it's kind of sad to say, but Microsoft doesn't need to make its current fan base happy. It needs to get people to buy the Series X. So they're going to release them together.
I agree.
It's like when Nintendo released Breath of the Wild. You don't care for the Wii U player.
Yeah,
you want to make them happy, so they upgrade to
I'll
the
give
Switch,
you that.
Because you need to sell the Switch.
I agree, yeah.
That's going to happen. So Microsoft, it's going to release in holiday 2020. Sony, you know what? Even if Sony didn't release this year, Sony is going to be fine. I mean, are they going to want to wait until holiday 2021? No.
No, of course
And you
not.
always want to release in a holiday season, so yeah, you don't want to miss that window. But Sony is in a much better position. PS4 is still going to sell amazing. Even after PS5 comes out, PS4 is probably still going to sell better than Xbox Series X.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And we have a bunch of exclusive games coming out that are going to be really good on Sony's platform, even outside of PS5, games. So I think Sony realizes this. They're being careful. And I think Sony's supply chain is going to get hit super hard.
I agree.
My personal prediction, I think the PS5 will still come out. I think it'll come out later than the Xbox Series X. And I think that the supply will be super limited.
So
I think it's going to be like the Wii, where you just will not be able to find this.
So you're saying it'll come out 2020, end of 2020?
Very close to Black Friday.
But that's not that late because most consoles launch about mid-November.
You think? Okay.
Almost every console. See, here's what I thought. I thought for sure Sony was going to one-up Microsoft and release the PS5 in late October. I just have this gut feeling that they planned to do that, but now with all this shit going on, I feel like it's going to get delayed till end of November, early December, and like you said, there's going to be a shortage.
The supply, but I think it'll work in Sony's favor.
I do too.
Because it's going to be like the Wii, where oh my god, I can't get a PS5. It has Godfall.
Godfall.
I have to buy it.
I'm falling from God's grace.
And then the pre-orders are just going to accumulate, and then Sony's just going to be chilling and coasting, and with the pre-orders already booked in there, they can kind of slowly disperse out their supply chain. And I think the PS5 will actually be in good stock 5 to 6 months later. Yeah. I don't think Microsoft's supply chain is going to be super constricted. I think they're too big of a company; they'll be fine.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And because of that shortage, it'll make Sony look better because they'll be able to tout that they were selling out while Microsoft Series X isn't.
But they got to be careful because if the price is too high, then people will
That's
not
true.
attribute the short supply to their being hyped for it. They'll attribute it to, oh man, this is too expensive. No one's buying it. I'm not buying it either.
Right. And you bring up a very good point. I was watching a video yesterday online about some guy trying to basically make a comparable PC using specs similar to what Microsoft just announced in the last week for the Series X. And even he couldn't get exactly what Microsoft announced because they got a GPU based on the RDNA 2 architecture, which there's no GPUs released yet with that architectures, and AMD's making those specifically for consoles. But what he ended up speccing, which was very close to, ended up coming out to $1,600. And if you're coming out with a PC with similar parts, that's still about 33% weaker than what the Series X is going to be. How in the flying fuck is Microsoft going to sell this for $600 to consumers or $500?
Dude, because Microsoft owns the world, man.
So are you telling me that they're literally buying these parts for roughly the same price that those people in China and are making those parts for? Like, it's almost mind-boggling. And I think that could be the case because when you make these partnerships to buy all these components, these computer components, you're telling your partner that, hey, I'm going to be buying 50 to 100 million of these parts within the lifetime. And so you're able to subsidize those parts. But still, for a third of the cost of what you would be able to build a comparable PC for, that's insane.
Yeah. And I think that's the benefit. That's what made me get the Xbox One X.
Right.
When it came out, I ended up getting a great deal on Newegg. I think it was Newegg, yeah, and it was like $350. I was like, why would I not get this? For the comparable performance, on a PC, where am I gonna get that?
Right, yeah.
That's basically running a 1060.
Yeah.
Know? And like this one is supposed to be, 12 teraflops. I know teraflops aren't everything, but like, what's the best think graphics card out there? 2080 Ti, and that's like 13 something teraflops,
right.
14 teraflops.
Well, if you think about it too, the GPU that's being built from the ground up for the Series X and PS5, it's not based on the same architecture that the current PS4 and Xbox One is based off of, which is based on the GNC architecture. So people have already crunched the numbers. If you compare this GPU with the current GPU in the Xbox One X, it's about 15 teraflops of power. It's not really 12.
Wow.
So that's even more insane when you think about it. So it's like, again, how do you sell this console for $500 to $600 and not take a loss?
They'll probably take a loss, but it'll be fine. And for $600, they were selling this for $500, right? The Xbox One X. So I think $600, like with Microsoft supply chain, everything being like bought in huge mass, I think they may take a little loss, but
then you're shooting yourself in the foot because Sony could easily undercut you to $400. Even if they take a loss, they would be pricing their console probably at $400. And if you have a $200 price point, who the fuck is gonna buy this?
I'll buy it, dude. I want the power.
What if Sony comes out and says we have two models though, a $400 and a $500 model, and their $500 model is comparable?
Microsoft will just release one for $300.
Jesus, man, do you want them to go broke?
But yeah, like the specifications on this thing is just insane overall, right?
It's nuts.
So I don't know. I'm excited.
So yeah, I am too. And top it off, all of that plus hardware accelerated ray tracing, which again you can barely find nowadays. So it's like this is like a $2,000 PC.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would go to $2,000.
It's close to it. I'm telling you.
Well, NVIDIA's gonna release the new graphics cards, and that will.
Oh, that's gonna be. Dude, the graphic card itself is going to be $800.
Yeah. Oh, more than $800.
Yeah, $800 to $1,000. So trust me, it gets close to a $2,000 PC. I'm telling you, it's like very close. It's on that cusp. But so yeah, this is some interesting stuff,
And I know we got a little distracted, but I do have to go back to one of the big points you brought up. E3, man, like.
Woo,
what
E3.
if that gets canceled?
Sayonara, my old friend.
Like, I feel like E3 is like Super Bowl. Like, you can't get rid of E3. Like, I know Sony and Nintendo, in their perspective from Japan, are like, why is E3 a big deal? We can just go online. But, like, I don't know. For me, like, that's my Super Bowl.
But I completely agree with you. But here's the reason why I enjoyed E3 for the past decade was I only enjoyed, honestly, the two conferences. And I'm not including Nintendo because Nintendo just fell off the face of earth. Sony's conference and Microsoft's conference and them trying to one up each other every time, and that's the only thing I enjoyed of E3. I didn't enjoy all the stuff before and after the Ubisoft conferences, the demos they would show off, we were gonna get all that information regardless.
We get a lot of, but sometimes it's cool. Like I remember when Beyond Good and Evil got announced, I was excited for that. You know, like I think one time Square Enix showed off like a tech demo that was awesome, but. Every once in a while, those other people will release, and Bethesda had some good game shows.
Yeah, but you gotta remember last year's conference was horrible.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
But
I'll say this: the fact that Sony's was not even planning to go to E3 just made me like basically say, yeah, I don't even care anymore. Microsoft will have their own conference regardless because they were going to be launching a new console, so they were going to have their own press conference regardless if it was at E3 or not.
True.
So at this point, I just want the information to get delivered to me in a way where I know I'll always be aware, whether it's E3 or not.
I need an E3, man. I still remember getting like shook when Final Fantasy fucking 13 got announced on Xbox One.
I do remember
that.
Oh
no, Xbox 360.
Xbox 360.
Oh, I need a moment like that.
That was pretty cool.
Come on, like. We spend all year speculating and looking up articles and talking with each other, you know, about what's going to be the most hype game coming out and what console is the best. You got to bring it together at one point. You can't have Microsoft doing their thing in friggin' April or June or July and Sony doing their thing in August or September. Like, you got to bring the guns out at the same time.
Yeah, I did look forward every year to June. It was one of those things where as we got closer, I couldn't stop thinking about it, you know, in my sleep when I would wake up, like, man, I can't wait for E3. It was one of those moments where, like I said, Super Bowl.
I'd be at work and I'd be like trying to fucking do shit, but I'm like watching the press conference, you know.
And I'd remember too, like for the Sony conference, which was always on the Monday evening following Microsoft, I would just rush home, get ready, get some food ready. I would be, you know, excited to watch that thing live.
Sony's definitely not going to go into any game shows with Corona and everything, I'm sure, but. We miss you, Sony. Yeah. I really wish Sony would come back. It would make things so much more hype.
I love the one-upping from each other, you know. Just, dude, 2013 it was the greatest when...
$3.99 PS4.
And then they said, this is how you share a game. Like, dude, just some amazing stuff over the years. Or when Don Matrick basically said to the one Marine that was like, hey, you know, well, I'm constantly traveling and I don't have access to the internet, so how can I use the Xbox One X? And he goes, fortunately for you, we have something called the 360. I mean, the guy, I love those days. I love those days. I cannot
believe he did that. It's like you're just asking to be fired.
Exactly. So I definitely love those days, you know. So, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the stuff that I wanted to really talk about. So.
Okay. All right, you wanna move on to our main story?
Yeah, for sure.
Today. All right, so changing up gears a little bit. I know we're called the Detroit Gamesters, but as you probably noticed, we figure that if you like video games, you like all types of media. So for today, we want to actually talk about comic book movies, and we want to talk about Marvel and DC.
Fanboy alert.
Yeah, I know. What side do you have a side? I don't know if I asked you this.
I mean. If we're talking strictly movies, I'm in between. And if we're talking comics, I like both. Looking at the movies that have come out recently, I've not enjoyed really any recent Marvel film. And looking at DC, though I love Man of Steel, Justice League was not good. Okay.
What other movie did you? What was that other DC movie you really liked, RJ?
Oh,
what was that
Quinn?
other?
Harley Quinzel? Oh, I love that film. I love Birds of Prey. That was such a great movie.
Get out of here. I'm gonna have to stop doing this friggin' podcast with you.
But I did like Aquaman. That was very enjoyable with James Wan directing. He always comes out with these visual flares. So that was.
Aquaman was surprisingly dope because. Yeah. It was like a world we've never seen before. Like, I know all these freaking haters have went online and complained that, oh, Aquaman has no story. Why are we watching this? Blah, blah, blah. It's so, like, cliche and generic. And I don't know how many of those are just Marvel fans. But, like, honestly, like, when do you ever see a movie underwater with freaking sharks, with mermaids riding on sharks? You never see that shit in Hollywood.
And it's crazy because they literally hired this actor who is now King of the Sea, King of Atlantis, and now King of the Lands in Game of Thrones, and he fucked our Queen Khaleesi. He's a boss.
He's the ruler of all.
He is the ruler of all. He's next level shit, next level hype, and he's even on this Apple show where he's blind as fuck and he still kills people, guys. Come on.
Dude, he's a real killer.
He's a fucking gangster. He is a Detroit
Dude,
gangster. That's the definition of Detroit gangster.
Dude, those tattoos. I bet you he's in video games too.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's got a kid.
No,
too.
I really, DC movies lately have surprised me.
Well,
I mean,
I've seen their ebbs and flows. I enjoyed Shazam, but I didn't like it.
So I like Shazam. I know we argued about this before, but it's like you gotta understand the type of movie Shazam is. Like it's just a movie to fuck around and have a giggle. Like.
But it did great at what it was trying to accomplish, except I think it fell flat on its ending. I think just the ending of it.
So I actually like the ending. What did you like about the ending?
I like the idea. Spoiler alerts, guys. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this conversation, so I just want to get that out now.
Yeah, going forward, if you haven't watched Marvel or DC movies, well, you might want to plug up your ears, because can't really talk about the movies without talking about what happened in them.
Right, otherwise skip forward like 20 to 30 minutes if there's any time left. But, yeah, so I like the idea that all the foster kids gain the power of Shazam. I just didn't think when they try to portray those fight scenes that none of them really contributed a whole lot to the actual fight.
I get what you're saying. That fight was really too long.
Yeah, it was very long,
it was like
drawn out.
You had to watch multiple different fights of multiple kids just trying to figure out what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And like at a certain point it wasn't funny anymore.
And
at a certain point it was like, let's just move on with the story.
Yeah, and when you saw 5 adults trying to act as kids, they all didn't really play it off that well. So
I get that complaint, but I guess and it's a very valid complaint, it just didn't break the movie for me. I was fine with it.
Yeah,
and
that's why I enjoyed it.
I don't know Shazam. I didn't know Shazam has a family. So, I could kind of see it building up to that. But when it happened, I was like, holy crap, there's 7 Shazams. I was so surprised.
Yeah, I like I said, I enjoyed the film. Didn't like it. But Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey was just god-awful.
Oh, Birds of Prey was horrible, guys. Do not watch
Don't
this
watch
movie.
that movie.
It's bombing in the box office. They're trying to figure out why.
They literally renamed the film.
And they still couldn't make money off of it. And Sonic the Hedgehog slaughtered it.
Yeah, that's how bad this film was. And it's weird because all the media outlets gave this movie probably averaged around 80 out of 100. That's because I don't know. I honestly don't know how
Margot Robbie is hot, but I don't like her as Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is annoying in the movie.
Yeah, she really is.
She wasn't even that great in Suicide Squad. And the way she's dressed up, I just kind of want to grab her face and push it away. It's not she's that hot clown, It's
I mean,
get away from me, take a shower.
I mean, the funny thing is with Suicide Squad, that movie set such a low bar that she stood out from the rest because there was no other notable performances. Honestly, even Will Smith's performance wasn't that good in the film.
Yeah.
So she stood out. That's why they gave her a solo film. But honestly, yeah, this film wasn't good. I mean, look, I love Ewan McGregor. He's one of my favorite actors, but his portrayal as
his actual character wasn't that great.
It was not great. But not even great. It wasn't even good. He was trying to be scary yet funny and
psychopathic.
Yeah, very.
But it was clear from the moment you watched that movie that this is a second string villain.
Yeah,
this is
really
clearly
was.
I'm watching Netflix and this is the Defenders. And it's not the Avengers.
Here's where I think the DCEU or whatever you want to call it is at. They got to a point where Justice League was very bad.
Oh, yeah.
And got a lot of criticism. And now they're to a point.
Well, you don't know how the Snyder Cut was.
Unfinished regardless, so it still would have been worse. So I don't really care. But here's what I'll say. They got to a point where they're trying to continue on with a lot of their solo films, and they're getting to a point where it's just becoming a cash grab. So if none of these films end up working out, they're not going to end up having a connecting film like another Justice League film or a reboot of the Justice League film. If all of these films that they're making, these solo sequels, are just to get more money, what's the point? Because then another 5 to 10 years from now, they're going to reboot all those franchises. So why are you making me invest my time in these characters like this Aquaman, where Jason Momoa might not be him for that much longer?
Maybe this is just me, and I feel I guess this just happens when we have opposite opinions a lot. I like the standalone movies because...
I didn't say I don't like them. I'm just saying, what's the point?
No one can do what Marvel did better than Marvel.
No.
With Thanos, building up that world...
I agree, Shamir. What I'm saying is, if you're going this route, you better come up with another team-up movie with these same characters.
What I'm saying is...
Why reboot Batman with Twilight faggot Robert Pattinson?
Arjun, you can't say that.
I can say whatever was my podcast. Just kidding, guys. But no, seriously, why reboot Batman and then have a separate universe of other characters when they're never going to meet
I
up.
would rather have separate movies where they're not connected if they're just gonna fuck it up when they connect it. You know, like
So why
I
not
feel
just
like,
reboot all the films again? Right now, why not? Why wait?
oh, like have a new Flash, have a new everyone.
Exactly. Why wait 5 years? Because you're basically telling me
Well, I
their
think
movies are cash grabs.
they're in a mess, right? Because Gal Gadot and like the Flash and all Aquaman are gonna be successful. They're gonna want to have sequels, and then everyone's gonna wonder where the other two, Superman and Batman, is.
Right.
You're right, that makes sense. And then it's like if you have another team up, you can't have those two characters come back because there's gonna be new people, so you can't have a team up.
Exactly.
And you're gonna keep having these solo movies. So I guess in your perspective, you were probably thinking that they'll make a second movie of each one.
Exactly.
And then stop and then reboot the whole thing.
Reboot everything.
But you know what? I would rather have them say, screw the team up. Let's just go the Dark Knight route. Let's give each one of these characters its own, like, good ass trilogy and be done with it. And then 15, 20 years down the line, maybe we can try and do what Marvel did. Because if you're going to try and do what Marvel did with Phase 1 to Phase 3, you got to plan that shit from day one.
Yeah.
You know, with Iron Man. And, like, plan it for, like, 10 years.
Yeah, the question is, when did they start that planning? Have they already started it?
Yeah. Well, I think they did, but, like, they don't have the successes, you know? Like, you can't... Like, with Marvel, like, the movies that were coming up were success after success after success, so it built up. But if you make this, like, 10, 15-year plan, and then your Justice League sucks, you know, this movie that's supposed to come out sucks, your plan is shit, you know? What are you going to do?
Right.
You know, like, I know you like Man of Steel, but Man of Steel didn't live up to its expectations, you know? And I think that was a big hit, right? Like, people like Man of Steel,
Yeah,
but,
people
like,
liked it.
I expected Man of Steel to be another Dark Knight. And it wasn't.
It was for me, in a sense. The way I look at it is commercially, I think it made maybe, I could be fudging the numbers, maybe 500 to 600 million. But for a movie that released, you know, in a film of somewhat sequels like Batman vs Superman and the Justice League, I think it did pretty well for a standalone film.
I guess if you look at, this is Man of Steel versus Batman Begins, I get what you're saying.
Right.
But I don't know, Batman Begins was good, but it wasn't absolutely mind-fucking-blowing amazing. And I just credit it to being Christopher Nolan being kind of new to this genre, you know, and he was getting his shit together. And then, like, Dark Knight comes out, Dark Knight Rises come out, and I'm like, oh my god, he's a master at this now. Now, I expected that from Man of Steel. Even though it was the first movie of the trilogy, I expected it to be as good as the second and the third Dark Knight movies.
But don't you think Christopher Nolan dropped the ball on Dark Knight Rises?
Yes and no. I mean, like, yeah, the cop-out at the end was kind of lame, but, like, there was some moments in Dark Knight Rises that I will remember.
Like healing a broken back in a desolate cave with some really strange men in a prison.
Don't use logic. Don't use logic.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Don't use logic. No, but, like, just, like, Bane's plan, you know, like, exploding all the bridges, exploding the football field, breaking Batman's back, just, like, how menacing he was when he talked to him. Like, these are movie moments that just, like,
wait, could you even understand Bane when you watched the movie? Cause
I had subtitles. I'm used to subtitles.
That's actually, I should have watched it with subtitles.
Dude, and it was a badass idea. Like, bro, Bane destroyed all the bridges and had Gotham City on lockdown. How insane of a victory is that? Like, yeah, Joker is fucking crazy and fucking psycho and amazing, but, like, Bane was more successful.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess, like, even if, like, not everything came together with Dark Knight Rises perfectly compared to Dark Knight, like, it was still, in my opinion, very good.
The way I compare the Dark Knight Rises with this trilogy of Superman films, and what I mean by trilogy is I think of Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League, a sort of trilogy for the overall arc for Man of Steel's, Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. So I can compare Man of Steel with Dark Knight Begins, and I think Man of Steel did a better job. Then you look at Dark Knight, the second film, with Batman vs Superman. Obviously Dark Knight was way better, but Batman vs Superman wasn't bad. And then you get
I don't know.
And then you get Justice League, which was horrible compared to Dark Knight Rises, which was alright.
Dude, I think I may have, I don't know. It's hard for me to decide which one I hated more, Justice League or BVS.
Dude, BVS wasn't bad.
Martha.
But their names were Martha.
There's, you've probably heard me say that, like, oh, this terrible thing happened, but it didn't ruin the game or the movie for me. But, like, that was just, I couldn't deal with it.
That was, I knew what they were going for. Like,
I
it was
got
supposed
what
to
they were going for.
It was supposed to be a touching moment where you're like, yo, we have this.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree. The music with him always having the flashbacks with his parents, with Batman having his parents, it was a little overdone. But I understand it's supposed to be a touching moment. It's like, wait a minute, Martha, we have the same mother from another father, and I'm your brother. No, but yeah,
like,
I got where they were going.
But like, I wish DC had just never felt like it needed to be Marvel, And I feel like in this era, it seems even stupider for DC to have gone down Marvel's route, because Marvel killed it, like, when it was releasing all of, like, I don't mean, I'm not trying to say that, like, their movies were amazing, but how much money they made and how successful they were with all of Phase 1 to Phase 3, and I feel like you felt like you wanted to copy that formula, but now we're in Phase 4, and we're just like, what is the point of Marvel now, right? And, like, now, in hindsight, we're thinking, like, I'm looking at this list of DC movies coming out, and I'm way more excited for that. Wonder Woman 1984. The Batman, right? I don't really care about the Suicide Squad follow-up, right? Shazam 2. I would watch that, right? The Flash. I'm actually excited for these movies coming out.
What about Cyborg? What happened to that?
Cyborg would be interesting. I mean, he's a cool character.
Yeah, he was interesting. He wasn't portrayed really bad, but I thought he was supposed to have his own solo. Or no, he was supposed to be in a film with the Flash.
I wish he had his own story, because, like, when I was watching Justice League, the character that was the most conflicted and had the most room to work from a plot perspective and character growth was totally Cyborg. Yeah. And they just fucking shat all over him.
Right, because he had the mother box integrated with him, and he was hearing voices.
They just needed him to move the story forward. Exactly. Even though, like, he had so much shit to deal with his dad and all that. Yeah. And it's like, come on. And, like, we know Batman's story. We know Superman's story. We don't know fucking Cyborg's story. Right. That could have been interesting.
It could have been very interesting. And I just want to interrupt really quickly. There is some breaking news that I'm reading right now online. The new James Bond No Time to Die movie has been officially delayed from April to November due to the ongoing concern of Corona. That's huge.
Corona? Wait, but why would they delay just because of Corona? What are they scared of?
Well, it doesn't specifically say for Corona, but it says, after careful consideration and thorough evaluation of the global theatrical marketplace, we've decided to delay the movie till November 2020.
Oh, so they think that no one is going to leave their house to go watch a movie because of Corona?
Yes.
You know what? I never even thought about that as possibly happening. But
that's crazy for a film of this stature.
Caliber, yeah. Like,
wow.
That might set the tone for a lot of other studios. And, like, even more so, like, this is going to mess with the psyche of people, because when they read that article, they're probably going to think,
they're saying, why are they doing
should
this?
I be scared to go to a movie theater?
Exactly.
I never thought about that, but I'm sure now people are like, well, if James Bond is concerned.
I mean, here's the even crazier thing. Everywhere near our homes is sold out of hand sanitizer and masks. You cannot find it in any local Walmart, Myers, or Kroger, anywhere, or dollar store. And it's even sold out on Amazon.
Man, I hope all these movies don't start pushing to, like, November and December, because then we're going to have so many movies then, and they're all going to kill each other.
Exactly.
And it's like, we already have all these games coming out there, too. It's like, no,
everything's going to get delayed to one point.
Now.
Every PS5, Series X, every good movie's going to all come out on, like, December 31st, and we're going to be like, what are we supposed to do?
We're all going to just have to, like, quit our jobs.
Yeah, seriously. So sorry for that interruption, I'm sorry, but just wanted to get that out there, because I thought that was really fascinating, and I'm like, wow.
But yeah, like, I guess, like, with DC, like, I wish they had just done trilogies. Like, I wish Man of Steel had just been his trilogy. And they just stopped fucking with it so much and just let Snyder do what Snyder wanted to do.
Yeah, but he also had some personal issues.
No, I know.
Daughter passed away.
I know that was really sad, but, like...
and here's the thing. The problem is, ever since that incident, he hasn't come back to take over any directing roles. And here's the other thing. I just want them to come out and say Henry Cavill is no longer our Superman. Like, why can't they just come out and state it?
They haven't said that? I thought they said that.
No, so there were rumors and reports circulating that he was no longer going to be Superman. Then Henry Cavill came out with his agent saying, I still have the cape. That's all he said. I am still Superman. And then Warner Brothers kind of responding with this really vague and ambiguous answer saying, we're still evaluating our options, and we love Henry Cavill. It's like, just come out and say he is no longer our Superman, and we're currently considering rebooting the franchise. Yeah. I just want them to get that out of the way because so many people have these expectations.
That's so dumb.
It is really dumb.
I'm pretty sure this is true. Henry Cavill had to bulk up for The Witcher as compared to Superman.
Wow.
What?
How the hell? I mean, he was already buff. I mean, this guy is jacked, dude. He's like, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because he lost a bunch of muscle after Superman and now he had to re-bulk up, but he was saying that he really hit the gym really hard.
Wow.
For The Witcher, which is mind-boggling to me.
I just did one of the Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. You gotta make your nose like that.
Wow.
But
Henry Cavill getting stronger. Wow.
Well, it's so funny to me. Trying to be serious here, Arjun. You suck ass.
I'm sorry.
But even with DC trying to get away from its roots and trying to do the Marvel thing, they're still kind of doing the DC thing, right? Wonder Woman 1984, their trailer seems like it's really hardcore on this is Wonder Woman's story, this is what we're going to focus on, and I think it's going to be a success, right? And it's that tells you this is what DC does well. Have a character, really build them up, have kind of an edgier, more serious story, and stick with it.
I think what happened best, there's something good that came out of this team-up movie they tried to do with BVS and Justice League. Even though the whole team-up aspect fell through, it introduced 5 new characters, basically. And
we're going to get... we got Aquaman because of it. We're going to get a Flash movie because of it.
We got Gal Gadot because of it. Wonder Woman.
Gal Gadot came out before. I mean, I guess BVS, technically BVS.
Which was the beginning of their Justice League,
yeah, true.
So here's the thing. The greatest thing that came out of this was even though those movies flopped, it exposed all these characters to the wider audience, and everyone said, hey, the characters were great, it's just the story was written horribly. So then they were able to now spawn off, instead of then first searching for a new actress and who would be a good Wonder Woman, and then it could end up ultimately flopping at that point.
You know what? I know you don't like Joker. But, you got
with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, really.
I love Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. It's hard for me to decide who my favorite Joker is between him and Heath Ledger, which is a huge statement to make.
Jared Leto's my favorite.
Get out of here, Arthur! I want to throw everything I have in this house against you. Oh my!
He wasn't bad.
Oh, you were trolling me, Arthur.
But he wasn't great.
No. Oh, I'm hurt. My soul is hurt. Oh, I can't even.
I don't know. I feel like
what is wrong with you?
I feel like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was as comparable to Jared Leto's Joker.
No.
They had both had a lot of pitfalls.
Okay, but one actually knew how to act, and the other one.
You're saying Jared Leto doesn't know how to act?
Fuck no, not in that movie.
Well, okay, in that movie, sure, I'll give you that. But he is actually a decent actor.
No, he's a great actor. In that movie, he was terrible.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix was terrible in Joker.
Can you... Okay, do the laugh. Do the fucking laugh.
I'll ask Jared Leto to do it, and he'll be able to do 100%.
Jared Leto is gonna fucking go on YouTube and press play.
Go to YouTube and just search up Jared Leto's Joker laugh? Dude, that is amazing.
I'll look it up. But Joaquin Phoenix's Joker laugh was on another level.
It was pretty good.
It was on another level.
His laugh was good, but his acting was horrible. He does not deserve an Oscar nomination for it.
His dude, oh my god.
Anyone can dance on a fucking flight of stairs.
Alright, let's see you do it. Let's see you walk all hunchback too.
Oh yeah, all I gotta do is act retarded.
Arjun. You're the worst.
But yeah, no, I'm just joking with you with the Jared Leto's Joker's it was horrible.
Yeah.
Let's just hope he does Morbius. Some decency with that.
How that's gonna
I don't know. Looking at that trailer for Morbius, it also looks very bad.
I think it looks
terrible. I'll tell
Why
you
does he take these roles? Why does he do this?
Because he wants to prove something. He wants to
but
show
he's
he can
not
be a
taking roles that he knows are going to be good roles.
But you have to think about it. Every actor now in Hollywood wants to be a superhero.
True.
And that's why he wants to get on it.
Why would you want to be a Joker that looks that stupid?
I don't know the answers to those obvious questions, clearly, but I'm just saying, he's an iconic character to play as.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, being getting the role of a Joker is as good as it gets.
Look, I'll tell you this. Tom Hardy accepted the role as
Bane.
not only Bane but as Venom, right?
Yeah.
And that movie was god awful. Yet it made over $800 million, and now they're making a sequel.
It wasn't god awful.
It was god awful.
It was decent. It was
pretty
good.
Look, it was better than Spider-Man's 3 version of Venom, but it was still bad. It was very bad. Okay.
I mean, I'm very biased because I love Venom.
I
have
Venom
a
too.
Venom mask, so I just like seeing him on screen. I was just like in love.
I'm telling you this: China's population probably contributed for over $400 million for that movie
Venom so much?
because they love.
Whatever, I don't care. I want another Venom movie. I love Venom. End of the discussion. But yeah, just talking about these DC movies coming out. Like, I don't know if they're gonna keep doing like sequels and trilogies, but at least when I'm looking at their lineup, I think they are. And I think they have a good spread of, like, different movies that are hitting different topics, right? Like, you got Wonder Woman, which is going to be an insane crowd pleaser, and you're kind of feeling the nostalgic Stranger Things vibe. That's going to be good. You got Batman. Now...
With Twinkle Star.
You got, Twinkle Star. Twinkle, twinkle. Twinkle Star. But he looks tough in all red.
I don't know, man.
And that's supposed to be dark and gritty as it gets. Then you have Suicide Squad, which is going to be funny and a joke.
I don't even understand why reboot that franchise. Like, we literally just got it. And...
Well, because you're adding a "the" in front of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's enough of a reason. I don't know why.
But is it truly a reboot or is it a sequel?
It's pretty much a reboot.
But how can you say it's a reboot when you're having existing characters come back in the film? Like Harley Quinn, the Boomerang guy.
I think it's both a reboot and a sequel. So I think you're going to take out half of the Suicide Squad and replace it with a new half and have them do a new mission. And it's
are they going to acknowledge the events of the first movie?
I don't think they need to.
Really?
If all the actions that happened in the second movie have nothing to do with the first movie, the only thing that carries over is Harley Quinn.
I mean, yeah, it depends, I guess, who they end up meeting in the film, I guess. It just, yeah, you're right. They could get away with not mentioning anything.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out, you know, like...
But isn't that really interesting? James Gunn had a chance to pick any franchise in the DC universe, and he decided, instead of Superman, he had the choice of doing a new Superman film. He decided to do Suicide Squad.
But I would rather have him do Suicide Squad, because he makes Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
The closest equivalent in the DC world to Guardians of the Galaxy is Suicide Squad.
Sure, but... You don't want to see him do something new?
Can he pull that off, though?
Well, did you just see... Have you seen Brightburn?
Yeah, I don't know if we saw it together, but I saw Brightburn.
That was a pretty good movie. That was like a Superman-esque...
Yeah, I guess...
film.
It was pretty dark, but I still wasn't completely in love with that movie.
But it was a low-budget film. So if he had the budget...
I mean, I think he could do Man of Steel. Like, if he hopped on board, I think he could do it well. But I wouldn't want him to, because I think when we're talking a movie on the caliber of Man of Steel, I want Hollywood's best fucking director. And I'm not saying James Director isn't the best director, but I want, like, the biggest name in Hollywood to jump on that.
I would love if Christopher Nolan did a version of Superman in his Batman universe.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, like, we're talking people as big as, like, Steven Spielberg, you know, like,
right.
you want, or like...
Stephen Ridley.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the best of the best should be on that movie, right? And then, like... The perfect equivalent, I think, is the Suicide Squad for James Gunn. Because
it was a great
like
fit.
Guardians of the Galaxy, but even more grown up. And, like, right. I think he has that raunchy
and darker, yeah.
I think that, you know, now that I think about it, I didn't think that movie would be too good, because I don't like Harley Quinn. But,
you want her to take a shower, right?
Helm, yeah. Get your ass.
Get your ass out of here.
But with James Gunn on the helm, I think it'll be good. And then... Shazam 2, we already talked about. I think that'll be funny as well. I don't know how the Flash is going to, like, fit into it, because I think the Flash is going to occupy a very similar space as Shazam 2.
I think from what I've heard is the Flash is going to retell the Flashpoint story or arc, which is probably one of the most, from what I heard, the most popular arcs in the cartoons and in the comics. But who knows how they're going to play off of that, so...
Yeah. I mean, I think Shazam. I think the Flash has the opportunity to be as successful as Wonder Woman, but I just think, like, in terms of the audience you're tailoring to, like, a lot of these DC movies seem like they're tailoring more to, like, younger audiences, or they're more like they're not going to be as dark and gritty, you know. So, like, I wonder if I was the people there, I would be trying to make each movie have a bit of a different tone. You know, like I would personally make Flash like a funny, fun movie, but like kind of darker. And then I would make Shazam be my like funny, fun movie that's never dark.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You got to have that dichotomy. But here's the thing, which kind of concerns me is how is the Batman going to really like play out? Because Matt Reeves, he's actually a great director, and the recent Planet of the Apes movies that came out, man, those movies were actually really good, really like well like thought out, written really well, and they were like that tone, like it was very serious, like hey, like there's an impeding doom coming, there's like our Earth is going to perish. I hope he can bring that sort of feel to Batman and make it gritty again, because like I said, I loved Christopher Nolan's Batmans, and if he can make it somewhat similar.
It's so ironic that like in like with Ben Affleck's like Batman, like that was supposed to be grittier because now he's shooting guns, but it actually is not grittier at all. It wasn't. So I think
more comic-y.
At least like the very little we've seen of him all in red and like standing next to that car, that looks kind of cool. But I still like the Batmobile from Dark Knight better. I don't know, man. Like I think it's too much Batman.
Here's what I think. I think if they get it tonally right, I think it's not going to fit anywhere else in the universe with the other films that they're making, and we'll never see a crossover between.
But I think
Batman
I would rather
other.
have DC do that. Like I would rather have DC just have movies that have different tones that just appeal, and like if you want to do a crossover, I think you could do a crossover with just not everyone, but
like his like again, we don't know how it's going to play out, but would his Batman fit with Harley Quinzel, like the current Harley Quinzel? Like, I don't feel like those would play out really well. I could see Ben Affleck's Batman fitting into it.
I mean, I could even say DC say, fuck you, fuck everyone, let's have two Batmans, let's have two Jokers, you know?
Yeah, that is true. They technically said this Joaquin's Joker was a spin-off, like it wasn't really
because I think
the
like
main...
DC doesn't care for that. Like DC, like, and this is what I think they do the best at, and they need to do, is just like find a good story, find a good character, and just tell their story. You know, and like if that means you have to have more than one character, like I don't know if I want that, but I just want to like have the character and stay honest with the character.
Right. I fully expect this Batman film to not be a solo film, and they'll do at least two, like a sequel or maybe a trilogy.
But they should make this a solo movie.
You can't. Like with Joker, with what they did with him, it was okay. It was not only was it a low budget film, they wanted just to explore psyche, like, hey, how he came to be. So that could have easily stood alone as a solo film, because their intentions weren't like to, hey, let's set it up to have multiple villains, antagonists, protagonists. For this, you're already introducing like a shit ton of villains, and you already know once you beat all of them.
Do you know what villains are in the Batman?
Yeah, I think they already confirmed. Like you have the Riddler, you have Penguin, you have Catwoman in here.
Oh my god, that's way too many.
Yeah, like you already have like those three, and then maybe like one other. So it's like.
I think if they had just done the Riddler and the Penguin, that would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
Because then you could really get into these detective games, right? Like, you're trying to, like, chase after Penguin, but, like, the Riddler is fucking your shit up, you know? That could be interesting.
But the fact that they're already introducing so many, I feel like they're going to just say, hey, he'll defeat a couple of them, then there'll be a couple more in the next film, and a couple more in the next... Like,
and this is supposed to be, like, a real, like, detective-type story.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how he plays this off.
You know, like, this Batman could never exist in the world of Joaquin Phoenix.
Right.
How weird would that be if they were in the same room?
And here's the other thing. Will he show off any villains that have superpowers? Now, most of Batman's villains have never truly had, like, a superpower that made them look like an alien or a god. Like, later on they get to those points, but...
In the beginning,
they really didn't. So it's like, will they ever introduce a villain?
Yeah, I guess they were like
powers?
more grounded, right? Like Bane, even like Bane and Joker.
Yeah,
like there was something. I mean, I guess the most ridiculous one is like Poison Ivy, right? Like,
yeah, maybe Poison Ivy, but they didn't even reintroduce Poison Ivy in the Christopher Nolan reboot.
Who was that ice guy?
Oh, Mr. Freeze, but he modified himself so that he had a suit on that.
Yeah, it was never anyone who was born with.
Yeah, it was never. Yeah, exactly. So it's like I actually don't want to see that.
I never thought about that, but yeah, that's a big thing in.
Yeah, it's like a big thing for Batman. So, but then in the Justice League reboot, he's versus Superman. You got the demons coming down, Darkseid's demons. You got so it was all like all over the place. You got Wonder Woman, then he's like, oh shit, who is she? Like I thought she was with you. Like it's just way too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll watch the movie, of course, but I'm not super excited for it. I do think people are sleeping on Robert Pattinson and also hyping him up too much. I think he'll land somewhere in the middle. Like, that one movie he did where he was like fucking black and white in New Hampshire. Like,
Oh.
I saw like the best acting.
At the Lighthouse?
Yeah, the Lighthouse. I'm not saying his acting was bad, but like I wasn't like, oh my god,
Stunning.
I'm so blown away. You know, this
Astonishing.
is like a Leonardo DiCaprio movement. Moment. I was like, yeah, he's a good actor. This is a good scene, but I'm not like gonna always remember this. And I think like what I was hearing from a lot of people was, oh yeah, sure, he's Twilight Princess, but at the same time, like he can act really, really well as per this movie. And I think he's gonna land somewhere in the middle. I think when I see him, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I guess I can kind of see why they had picked him. Yeah, he's a much better actor than I thought, but I don't know if he's like AAA level acting
Right.
talent. You know, maybe he'll surprise us. You know,
I mean, Christian Bale, when he was picked, he had proven himself.
yeah, he had American Psycho. I think.
American Psycho.
He was so good at that.
He was so good. And it's not like Robert Pattinson hasn't proved himself. He has in a ton of roles. He just hasn't had a significant role in the past 6 years. So that's why it kind of has me a little worried.
So I think his portrayal of Batman, personally, I think it'll either be like good to like really good, or like I'll be surprised at how good it is. But like I think it's less likely for me to be like, oh my god, I'm so surprised, this is the best fucking thing ever. I think I'm gonna land in the solid realm of, oh yeah, this is really good or good.
I'm just curious. Like, I would love to know the reason one day why Matt Reeves homed in on him and the other guy that plays Beast in X-Men. Like, why did he really want these two people to be Batman? Like, one of these two guys to be Batman? Like, what did he see in them from their acting chops that he was like, oh, I gotta have one of them?
Yeah,
like, it could have probably went for a lot of people. But
He
he
could
just
have got anyone he wanted.
yeah, like, he's
But
a well-known
I also
actor.
think that like
I mean,
they
director.
had one for like the biggest person they could find, like Ben Affleck, right? Like that's as good
True.
as it gets, and like sometimes getting the biggest name actors don't work out well, right? Like they got Gal Gadot, and like Gal Gadot wasn't huge before Wonder Woman, right? Like she was pretty good, she was big, you know. I think she had done Fast and Furious beforehand, but like when you saw her in Wonder Woman, you were just like, yeah, she was perfect. You know, this is as good as it gets.
She really fits the role also. Yeah, you're right. She wasn't.
I think
before
they
that.
also did the perfect thing for Aquaman. I think they have the perfect Flash as well, and like none of those people had.
But do they really have the perfect Flash?
Okay, but like, I don't want to hate on Flash's character, you know, but like I feel like with the Flash, you just need someone who's like funny and fun, and kind of.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been clamoring for the Flash that's been on the CW show to be the one in the movie, but the
But
funniest.
they can't do that.
Yeah, they can't do that for obvious reasons, but they had a crossover event in December, and they had a surprise cameo where the movie version of Flash ended up meeting the TV version.
How was that?
It was really interesting. They both met each other. They're like, "Hey, who are you?" And you should go watch the clip on YouTube. And when they both realize they're like a different version of Flash, they're like, and they just freak out and they just disappear.
That's
and
hilarious.
it was actually really funny.
Which
You should
one
check
do
it.
you like better, or which one do you think you'll like better?
I honestly haven't seen too much of the CW show, but I still think the movie version would be a better choice.
Yeah.
He's been in more films. He actually has shown a very wide range of acting, so I can see him going. Like you said, he's actually pretty funny, and he fits the role. You know.
So like I think they've done a pretty good job this time around on like casting people for the DC movies.
Yeah.
So.
For once in a long time, they actually have a stable cast of characters they can just play off of for a while, like you said, and then maybe reboot the franchise.
My only thing is like I think Joaquin Phoenix, in my opinion, was perfect for the type of Joker he was going to portray, but I don't know if that's the perfect Joker for all Joker movies going forward.
Right.
You know, that's the only questionable thing I have, but I think for what they were trying to do in that movie, that was a perfect guy they could get. You know.
Yep, I agree with that.
And
I somewhat agree with that. I mean, like I said, I have my gripes with that film overall and his acting, but you know, it was an enjoyable film with what they were trying to go for. So
yeah. So I guess like we should probably flip to the other side and talk about Marvel.
Dude, I just haven't enjoyed any Marvel film in a long time.
I can't believe you feel that way.
Like,
I felt like, in my opinion, Marvel movies they were like good in the beginning, then I didn't like the middle ones. Now I like the end ones a lot more.
I didn't like Infinity War. I didn't like Endgame. I liked Infinity War, but I didn't think this was this amazing. Like, Marvel every year when it releases this Marvel films, it always has this like thing where it's like, hey, we want our films to be Oscar nominated for an Oscar, and everyone's like, dude, it's not Oscar worthy films. Like, the acting of any character in the movies or the writing itself is nothing.
I mean, I do
special.
think that like objectively speaking, and I don't know how hard of a portrayal of a role it is, but I think Robert Downey Jr. did a good job as Iron Man. Like, he was always consistently
Yeah, he was
Iron Man.
consistent, but there was no one film in any of the singular movies that he deserved like an Oscar for.
No,
Over,
I wouldn't
like,
say that.
Yeah, like I said, over time he's played.
I don't think
Iron
any
Man
of the movies
phenomenally.
focused enough on him, or like any of his standalone movies were like well written enough to give him enough abilities to truly like act well. But I think overall,
Call for Shamir. It's from Juby Abraham.
Hey guys, sorry for that quick interruption. Something important came up, but we were talking about how Robert Downey Jr. was very consistent in his portrayal of Iron Man, but I still don't think any one Marvel character deserves an actual Oscar nomination.
yeah, I can't think of a single person that was like that great of a performance. I don't even think Black Panther deserved the Oscar.
No,
I know you
maybe.
didn't like that movie that much. I really liked that movie for the same reason like Aquaman, seeing a different universe and world.
I agree.
And it looked cool.
I love Black Panther as a character, and the very first half of the film was actually really unique. I just didn't like it comes down to, dude, the ending of a lot of these films usually fall flat on their face. And like that CGI was so bad on that fight against Killmonger. It was just so bad. And that's what put me out of the experience. I was like enjoying the film.
Yeah, I guess I was okay with that CGI. It wasn't great, but I was okay with it because I was like, oh, I've seen shitty CGI before, whatever.
Yeah, I guess you can give it a pass.
Black Panther was one of my more favorite movies, and I don't know, I personally really liked the last couple of Marvel movies, and I hate Marvel normally. Like, I didn't really like a lot of the Marvel movies because I thought they were too childish, and they weren't, like, serious enough, and they were always trying to be funny. And, like, I know Marvel does this thing where they just, like, have someone, like, blatantly like state how obviously awkward something is, and there's like an awkward conversation between the villains and the heroes, but like I was never for that. Like I saw it once and I was like, okay, why do you keep doing this? And then like these newer movies were actually getting more serious, you know, like Endgame and Infinity War definitely had darker tones. They were more serious. That's why I liked them.
But like Captain Marvel, like I
Captain Marvel, yeah, let's
was,
not even go there.
It was like one of those like films where you could just easily put off like Captain Marvel is a big character in the universe, but I feel like right now her role is like more of a side character, even though she's technically taking over for the team.
She's so freaking strong.
She's so
and just so
strong.
important.
Yeah, so
and
important.
And it's like, where is she?
Yeah, and they kind of just almost threw her aside in Endgame. It was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to protect.
Well, it's because like I think this was secondary to just how impossible it was for them to pull that story off, because they had to finish the story of the original Avengers, and she wasn't one of them.
Here's what I think they should have done. I think they should have delayed Captain Marvel till after Endgame came out, because they were so close, and then they shoehorned her in.
There was no point of her. The only reason she needed to be there was to help Iron Man get back to Earth.
Right.
But beyond that, if they just had found another way of getting Iron Man to Earth, didn't need her.
Yeah, you didn't need her. They shoehorned her in to the film.
I mean, all she really did was like fight Thanos for a little bit.
Yeah, and she wasn't even the one.
I guess like you could just have the Hulk fight Thanos for a little bit.
Right, and yeah, you could have had Hulk, and you had Scarlet Witch basically like not destroy, but like basically almost kill Thanos. So it was like you didn't need her.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't enjoy Captain Marvel. I didn't enjoy what was before Captain Marvel, because we had.
I mean, I guess technically probably like Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man that was actually very good until you get to the point where you find out like.
Or maybe it was Thor Ragnarok.
So you had Thor Ragnarok as Spider-Man. Okay, so I liked Thor Ragnarok because it was that cool mixture of like some Planet Hulk-esque moments. But then when you got to the point where basically Chris Hemsworth really wants to do more comedy in his films of portraying Thor, I just don't like that. And the fact that he might now be in Guardians of the Galaxy, he really wants to embrace that comedic role.
Like, I think he is funny. But like Thor has changed so much, and it's not a character growth. It's just him deciding to be a different Thor in every movie, and it's just weird.
And there's been reports that he was upset over how his character was being portrayed to begin with, and he wanted to be more funny, and that's why he likes Taiki, the director Taiki Waititi's direction of Thor in Thor.
And that's going to be the direction for the next Thor movie.
Exactly.
So. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that direction, but, like, I wish he was like that in the first place, as opposed to this confusingness. I guess, like, I didn't like Thor Ragnarok as much because I wish they had done Hulk more justice. I felt like
I'm
they
still
kind
waiting
of...
for those separate solo Hulk movies. Like, where
I
are
know.
those?
Yeah. I guess, like, now could be, like, a decent time to just talk about, like, Marvel Phase 4, Like, what is coming up? What is the future of Marvel?
Right, and do we know, have they announced all the Phase 4 movies yet?
They have, and they're mixing it up with TV shows, too.
I find that really interesting. I think there is a place in TV to really hit home, all those side stories that they couldn't really pronounce in these main films. Like, what's his name? Like, the new Captain America that's taking over Falcon and his buddy, so...
I think in that place, it's a good thing, but I think it speaks to a bigger concern and problem that I have for Marvel. And it's that, like, DC has its stable characters, right? Like, it's stable of, like, really popular characters, and either they reboot the shit out of them, or they're bringing some of them in that, are super popular and should hit the limelight. But Marvel has burned through a lot of them, right? Like, the really big Marvel characters, like, a lot of them have been talked about, outside of Fantastic Four and X-Men, like, the Avengers and stuff, like, we have their stories. They're not rebooting the stories, so now we're getting a lot of side stories. And it's like, how motivated are you to go to the movie theater to watch one of these, like, not as important characters, not as famous characters, and watch their movie? In the past, you would do it because you wanted to see that continuity of the Infinity Stones and how it all ties in, like, a lot of people didn't know what Doctor Strange was, or this person was, or that person was, or Ant-Man, but you went to go see it because you wanted to know. You had to know. Or Captain Marvel. Oh, you have to see it. It's coming out right before Endgame, know? But now, like, if Falcon and Winter Soldier had just been released as a movie, right, would you go watch it?
Probably not.
Right? You would just wait for it to come out on Netflix.
Right.
And I think because of that, I mean, Disney probably realized that, and they were like, let's just go straight and put it in Disney Plus, and, like, now it's like two apples, and, like, it's amazing because now people have to get Disney Plus, and, it's less expensive than if we just build a big budget movie.
Yeah, less money, you can still expand on the story and the lore, and you don't have to worry about taking a loss on a film, so... I think it's cool that they're going with what? So you got Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. I think those are all pretty interesting.
But, like, here's my thing. Like, when you're trying to hook people into the future, right, you want to bring in things that you already know, right? So what are the stories that we already know? WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. These are people we know. Loki, we know him. And Hawkeye, right? I'm going to exclude Black Widow for now because that's going to be a movie that's coming out really quick, and I don't even know how long that's really how that's going to tie into the future because she's, not here anymore.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But yeah, like with those four ones that I had mentioned, I don't know, they were never huge characters in the first place, and I guess it's nice that they're getting their own attention, but, like, outside of Loki, like, I don't know how hype I would be for any of them.
I think I'm really excited for not Miss Marvel, but Moon Knight and She-Hulk. I want to see what they do with She-Hulk, because if they end up making She-Hulk what Hulk should have been, I will be upset, but they have a chance to redeem themselves.
So I agree with you, but I guess, like, the new things that they're bringing in, I think, are more exciting.
Yes.
But, like, the old stuff that they're bringing back...
It doesn't add a lot of value.
WandaVision is some weird sitcom show. Like, I don't even know
really
how much of a purpose there is. Like, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, how much more of a story do I need to hear from them, And then, like, Loki could be interesting because his story isn't done yet. I don't know what kind of mischief he'll be up to. But I also don't know if it's going to have the huge production value of the Avengers,
right.
So I feel like it's gonna seem like a cop-out. Like, I just saw Loki in these insane movies doing insane things, and now he's in a TV show.
Well, to be fair, in Infinity War, he died in the very beginning, and in Endgame, he just, a different version of himself escaped. So literally nothing happened.
True, but he was the primary villain in the original Avengers. I mean, that is a big role to fill, right?
Yeah, but we're years removed from that, so
that's
not in anyone's mind.
But like, I mean, I still think Loki is a fairly big character.
He is. And then
like Hawkeye had all these changes, and Ronin, and like Hawkeye initially when I saw him was a cool character, but again, like, we already have his story completed about his family, so what else? There's going to be a prequel, probably. I don't even know what they've announced.
Well, it kind of goes back to the same thing with Black Widow. That movie is literally a prequel, so it's like, what more is there to tell? Is it because she's just so popular and you think you're going to make the most money from that film? Which I think is doing a disservice to the character, because yeah, there are stories to tell, but we got to a point where her characters was set off. It was like you finished her arc. There's no more need to tell more stories about her.
Yeah.
It's like now making a separate Iron Man film again, where it's a prequel for before Iron Man died.
It doesn't make sense, and it's like, when it comes to these DC movies that are coming out, for Flash and whatnot, we've never truly seen that before. So I want to see that. Me going to the movie theaters, I'm seeing something new. But for the Falcon and WandaVision, all these things, I've already seen them. I enjoyed them in the movies. Their stories are kind of done for the most part. If you were gonna elaborate on them, why didn't you do it in Phase 3? Why did you do it now in Phase 4? And I feel like they're doing this because they need something to pad Disney Plus, right? And they can't just jump straight into the Eternals. They can't just jump in straight into their next team. They need to carry us into that, And I guess I don't know. I'm not super excited for Phase 4.
I have mixed feelings, because I was in the same boat you were. Because when I looked at Phase 4 in terms of the movies, I wasn't first excited. But now when I look back at it, you got Black Widow, The Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Doctor Strange, and then a sequel to Spider-Man and Thor: Love and Thunder. That's actually not bad. Out of all the heroes that I've liked, those are probably some of my more favored films and heroes. Like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Thor probably were my favorite. And then you got the Eternals with a whole new set of cast and actors. And then Black Widow looks like high energy action packed. So it's if anything, I'd rather see these films than maybe a sequel to I don't know. I don't necessarily need more Black Panther, or I don't need more
it doesn't make sense for it to be now. It's like Doctor Strange. Why am I seeing this after Thanos? I don't know. It just seems like a weird time to have him, especially since he was kind of pretty important in the last two movies.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess so. Doctor Strange seems out of place to me. Thor makes sense. I get why there's a Thor sequel. His story isn't done yet, so I'm okay with that. I'd watch it. I want to watch it. And then the Spider-Man movie, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this new series of Spider-Man. I've seen so much Spider-Man. This seems kind of too childish for me.
I still think it's just, when I look at Tom Holland, he still looks so young, even though he's in his early 20s. He just doesn't fit the role that I think of as Spider-Man. I liked Andrew Garfield and I liked Tobey Maguire. And I think Andrew Garfield probably was my most favorite Spider-Man in the last decade.
I think I like Tobey Maguire the most, but that's also a reflection of just how good the movies were.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Garfield is more of what I would maybe picture.
Picture a Spider-Man.
I know he's not supposed to look that cool, but I really like Spider-Man, so I'm fine with him looking super cool. Right. And
I just think Tom Holland's a good actor. He's not. I don't know. I didn't like the first Spider-Man film that came out with Tom Holland, and I thought the sequel did things right, but then the ending again was also again a letdown for me. Man, all these Marvel movies, I've seen all the endings are such a letdown, man. Yeah, they don't do it well. And no, here's the other thing that I'm also disappointed. I like that they're introducing Shang-Chi, but if this is about the actual 10 rings, they're basically flipping the whole Iron Man 3 plot. They're basically throwing it out like nothing really ever happened.
Are they related?
Yes, and I don't want to spoil it, but basically the villain of that film basically was never truly a villain, and they're going back to what the comic book did, because so many fans were upset at Iron Man 3 and how they screwed up that whole
Mandarin
plot.
Will be there?
So this is supposed to be about the actual Mandarin, so it's what's going on now? So you got,
I mean, Marvel has them weird cop-outs, but...
They have,
But I guess, out of all these movies, there isn't one where I'm just holy shit, I need to watch this, I think the one I'm most excited for is The Eternals, just because I have no idea what to expect. They have a lot of big names, big name actors. I'm really excited for Kumail Nanjiani. I think he's going to be awesome.
He's ripped, shredded.
I know.
First brown boy in Hollywood history.
Woo woo! And then, I know, Angelina Jolie is back.
Right.
That'll be cool. So I think Eternals will be good. but is it gonna be like Avengers level good?
Probably
I don't
not.
think so, because at least with Avengers, like we had Iron Man come out, we had Captain America come out, we had two really big name actors, big name movies, big budget, and then they came together. Eternals is just popping in there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Is it supposed to be another spin-off, or are they going to tie this in again to another like mashup of heroes or whatever you want to call them? Because I think the Eternals doesn't take place in current time; it's taking place in like way back in the past.
So I guess like that kind of like makes me wonder, what is the goal of Marvel right now? And I feel like with all the phases that came before, they were doing this insane world building and tying, and they built all of this shit up, right? You can't outdo that. You can't do what you did before, because how are you going to build up to a character as big as Thanos and take him out? Everyone's going to constantly compare, who this new bad guy is to Thanos. And no one wants to wait another 10, 15 years for a movie moment as big as Thanos, right? So I think Marvel realizes this, and Disney wants to go a different route. And I guess I'm wondering, what is that different route they're trying to do? And I think one of the really big things that they're trying to promote is diversity. And I know Kevin Feige, I don't know if you read this on the internet, he was I almost just didn't do all these movies because I really wanted diversity, and the diversity is a big deal for me.
But did he mean diversity of the amount of heroes?
I think he means...
Not the cut and dry,
I think he means I just don't want all male protagonists. I want people from all walks of life, queer, female, whatever they are, different races, as all-inclusive as can be. It was a really big deal for him. And, I'm kind of torn how I feel about that, because one part of me is with the Me Too movement, with everything that happened in Hollywood, there is not a lot of representation in Hollywood for minorities, right? But at the same time, if you're trying to shoehorn in stories for minorities, you have to look at the comics from which you're pulling from, and those comics did come from a different time where it was a lot more patriarchal. We had different viewpoints of heroes, and most of the big badass heroes we have are all male. So now either you're going to have to make these male characters females,
right,
and a lot that's happened in the Eternals. They're flip-flopping roles.
And Thor, well, though they did this recently, but Thor: Love and Thunder now, Natalie Portman's going to become Thor, basically.
Yeah, female Thor.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to look at these side stories, these not as famous, female characters, or your not basic white character who's a male, and pull at those stories. But it's now you're pulling from source material that might not be the most famous or the best. Why you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot? I know you're trying to balance those two, but I just wish they had struck a bigger balance, a better balance.
Yeah, I agree on that. That point, so.
I think that's one thing that I don't know. So
we'll see. I think this is just to tide us over until Phase 5 really hits, because I'm excited. The one thing they announced was Mahershala Ali's going to play Blade.
Yeah.
But they said that that's not Phase 4. So I'm great. How long do we really have to wait? We got to wait 4 years.
At least 4 or 5 years.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's interesting that they're bringing back Blade.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and I think Mahershala Ali will be the perfect role.
Yeah,
for
I
the
think
character.
he'll do a great job. I mean, I wonder how they're gonna do Blade though, because the tone of that movie was perfect for the 2000s.
Yeah,
and it would not work now,
yeah,
right? Because it was all
change
punky and edgy,
right,
and with the techno soundtracks and stuff.
Exactly, and was it rated R or PG-13?
It was rated R.
Yeah, see, at that time it was rated R, so they're not gonna make that rated R this time. It will be a PG-13 movie, so.
I don't know how it's gonna go, but that'll be interesting.
Cool.
So. All right, cool. So,
I think we really hit some pretty interesting points in this episode. So,
yeah. So, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya. Deuces.